Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gargano Show!
I am not Anthony Gargano, but welcome in and happy Monday, post-July 4th weekend. I would think this has to be a top, 6, 7 worst day of the year to return to work after the holiday weekend. But thanks for joining us here on the Anthony Gargano Show on PHLY. And this portion of the program is brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. The Anthony Gargano Show is presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. So check out TrueMark.com/PHLY or stop into your local branch to learn more about the difference a credit union makes at TrueMark Financial today. All right, lot to get into today. As I haven't cracked a microphone in over a week's time, I have a trip to Wrigley Field I can tell you about. We have some Sixers stuff to get into. The Phillies are about to get stronger here this week as they've done a great job. And just to give you the rundown of who's joining us today, I'm really excited. 9:25. We're going to talk with Devon Givens because obviously the Sixers made some big moves this weekend, or it made them official. Now, what's next? What are the one or two other spots they can add to realistically? How does this starting five look together? All of that. So excited to talk to Devon at 9:25. Then coming up at 9:45, we'll do Brad's Best Bets with Brad Feinberg from Bet Parks. Looking forward to that. And then at 10 o'clock, an old friend, David Murphy from the Philadelphia Inquirer, now a general sports columnist, will be joining us so we can run the gamut of all four sports with David, who will be in with us coming up at 10 o'clock. So a lot to get into today. But let's start with the thing that's on my mind. And I am fresh off of a trip to Wrigley Field, but what was on my mind this weekend? The Philadelphia 76ers. And that is what is popping off with Olipop. Saw some Olipop out in Chicago, actually, because it's everywhere now. It's in over 30,000 stores. And here locally, you can find them now at Wawa in the Express case. So find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa. What's popping off in my mind is I can't stop thinking about the Sixers. I have been kind of dead inside when it comes to Sixers basketball. I watched, but I didn't believe. This past year was fun until it wasn't. And once Joel Embiid is injured or coming off of injury going into the playoffs, it's just like I just feel like I'm in the same psychotic nightmare. I didn't think I would have a chance at coming back to life here and being rejuvenated. But Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers have brought me back from the dead. I'm ready to get hurt again. There's obviously no guarantees that, these moves are going to result in an Eastern Conference final or NBA Finals run. But they've absolutely done the best possible case for what this offseason, had in front of them. It was a potentially scary landscape 2-3 weeks ago. And then you got Paul George and you were like, oh, wow. All right. I didn't think that was that realistic. It was the one that probably made the most sense in terms of a schematic fit, getting a 3-and-D wing player, the best Joel's had in his time here, paired with a young up-and-coming superstar in Tyrese Maxey, which we'll get into today. Fit-wise on the basketball court, absolutely nailed it. And then you're starting to look at the diminishing cap number, and you're like, all right, this is where Daryl's got to get creative. And I know Kelly Oubre might not be, the sexiest name in the world, but he played a really nice role here for the team last year. And then you get Andre Drummond and Eric Gordon, and you're like, all right, these guys are like legit NBA players. And then over the weekend, the Sixers go out and get Caleb Martin, a guy we've seen firsthand in the playoffs recently for the Miami Heat. We'll get into Heat culture and if that's overhyped because it appears it is. And the reports are Caleb Martin turned down more money from the Miami Heat to choose Philadelphia. And that's what a Paul George signing does. It puts the bat signal out to your Andre Drummonds and your Eric Gordons and your Caleb Martins that this is a viable place to come and play. And I think at the end of the day, this is all a reflection of Daryl Morey because his job coming here and taking over, a tough situation with Ben Simmons demanding out, with a Al Horford contract that was an absolute anchor on the team, with the James Harden situation and what he became. And everybody thought he was going to offer him the max just because he had to. And he didn't. And he's made some tough decisions. And the reason the Sixers were in the spot they're in now was because last offseason, the most important thing the Sixers did was Daryl Morey convinced Rich Paul, one of the most powerful agents in sports, that Tyrese and him should wait another year to sign that extension, that they had him taken care of. He was a part of their future. And for them to do that allowed them the cap space to go out and get Paul George and now add these vets to it. And all of a sudden, what's popping off with Olipop is I'm back. I didn't think this was possible. The Sixers is just like this repetitive hellscape that we lived in. And now it's something new. It's something fresh. I'm not saying it results in an NBA title because the Celtics are still really good and there's still some really good teams out west as well. But I think this is, on paper, perhaps the best chance you're going to have at it. Now, I wrote down the 2018 starting five, or the 2019 starting five versus this starting five. And we're going to get into it with Devon and JP and Andrew today. Which one is better if you had your choice right now? Do you take the Ben, JJ, Jimmy, Tobias, and Joel five? Or do you take the Tyrese, Oubre, Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid five? On paper, I think the 2019 might be a little more talented, but this starting five, when you put it together, and one thing that's happened in the NBA discourse over the past couple of days is people are way too hung up on traditional power forward roles, because Caleb Martin is going to play a power forward here. He's going to be your starting power forward. A lot of people, need the days of Kevin Willis going out there and getting 15 boards and elbowing people in the face. Well, the NBA is not that anymore. It's a positionless sport, kind of. There's still your point guards and your centers. But what matters is length. And perimeter defense, I think, has been the thing that has killed the Sixers over the past couple of years. And Paul George upgrades you. Caleb Martin is a guy that kind of thrives in the postseason. You've seen him the past 2 or 3 years kind of do that with the Miami Heat. I think he put up 27 versus the Celtics, kind of plays a tough style of basketball. So when you put them together on the court, that starting five makes a lot of sense. The 2019 Sixers starting five may have been more talented, but I think if you're, taking your pick right now, I think I'm going to go with the current Sixers team, even though talent-wise, Ben was at the time, an all-defensive point guard, not a shot maker, but a shot creator. JJ was one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Jimmy Butler, we all know Jimmy Butler. Tobias wasn't as bad as he was this past year, and Joel isn't as good as he is right now currently. So it's a really fun fit. They're going to fill out their bench with the veteran types and kind of, they're going to go for it. But I can't stop thinking about it. The Caleb Martin signing, while relatively minor in the grand scheme of NBA moves, really kind of, one, cemented your starting five, but two, went, all right, guys want to come here. And that's the biggest part of all of this is Paul George is the biggest free agent to come to the Sixers. Jimmy, Tobias, all these moves, Harden, they were all trades. Nobody openly chose the Philadelphia 76ers, and Paul George did that. And I don't care if you had the financial, advantages other teams didn't have, and there wasn't many teams. Who cares? He chose to come here, and I think Daryl Morey, even the staunch Daryl Morey doubters and haters or whatever you want to call them, I think they even have to tip their cap to this offseason because it's gone better than expected. When you think about the possibilities of what could have been, it could have been a disaster. I mean, like when we're trying to hype ourselves up on a Brandon Ingram or who else was out there that people were high on, like those just weren't good outcomes. So I think, if you mentioned DeMar DeRozan, just get the hell out of this studio. But it wasn't exciting. It wasn't promising. And I think Paul George and now the subsequent moves that have followed him And there's still probably one or two more to come because Daryl does like going into the season with a 14-man roster. We'll find out when we talk to Devon coming up at 9:25. But JP is here with us today.
Jamie.
I'm back.
What's up, brother? Welcome back,
yes,
man.
literally, and figuratively, I'm back.
Dude, how was Chicago, man?
Chicago was amazing. We'll get into Wrigley, and I started on our Discord channel last night. I'm pro Sixers Center City Stadium.
Okay.
And, I understand why people aren't and all of that. But, like, going to a downtown stadium in Chicago, like Wrigleyville, and just kind of melting into the city, leaving it.
It's definitely cool, man.
And, like, not seeing, people were coming in on trains and cars, but it wasn't congested and terrible. So I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, I am so pro Sixers Center City Stadium because I think it would be so cool.
Wrigley, I'm assuming, like, obviously for a lot of Chicagoans, I wonder, they could probably say this better, but it feels like the cathedral, right, of Chicago.
Yeah.
The way it's kind of set up. You make that next corner, you turn on the next corner and you see, boom.
Yeah, you don't see it
Wrigley
from I was
Field.
2 blocks away from him at one point. I looked at my cousin, and I had been there before, but this was the first trip for a Phillies series.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin just moved there, and I was like, dude, how close are we to Wrigley? He's like, are you serious? It's like, it's right there.
Throw a rock, Jamie, right now.
And I was like, oh, yeah, how about that? And then you walk up, and it's like, oh, holy shit, that's Wrigley Field.
So are you taking the train in to if we have a first stadium?
Yeah.
Sixers Place, as we're calling it?
Nothing ruins an experience more of the South Philadelphia sports complex than having to get out of there. So when you see like these stadiums in town, not as many people drive. And I think that's a big thing. And people walk, and like seeing Chicago and the streets and everybody flooding towards Wrigley. Like, I'm so pro it. And Old City and Center City, there's a disconnect because of Market East, and nothing has been able to answer it. So I just think it was a really cool thing going to Chicago and Wrigley. And I know that's an old stadium, and there's the Wrigleyville was built around Wrigley, and this is going into an existing neighborhood and stadium. And I understand some of the concerns people have.
The biggest
that live
gripe
around
is just
there.
the tailgating. I feel like I get from not even like the transportation. It's just been the tailgating. Like, how's tailgating going to look like in downtown?
Yeah, well, I think tailgating more is Eagle and Phillies centric. I think Flyers and Sixers, you get some for sure.
Especially playoffs.
Yeah, once it gets
Weather
nice out,
yeah,
then it becomes a real big thing. But I think generally, like, we'll figure it out.
When I went to Nashville for the Eagles-Titans, we were tailgating on the top floor of a parking garage. So we found a way.
Yeah.
We always find a way in Philly.
Yeah, but Chicago was great, and we'll get into that more and more. But JP, like, the Sixers got me back. I didn't think it was possible to get to this level of excitement in an offseason that, frankly, I thought was damn near impossible to get right.
I mean, like, how can you hate what Daryl Morey did? I mean, like, I wonder what people's expectations were for this upcoming offseason. But, James, I mean, the biggest problems with the Sixers, one of the biggest problems was the wing depth and just the wings in general. I mean, you bring back Kelly Oubre, you sign Paul George, that's the big one. And Caleb Martin, dude, he's literally a player that you've been trying to find over the past couple seasons, a guy who could play defense, make some big shots, make some big assists as well. That's something a lot of people love with Nick Batum as well. And he's got that playoff pedigree. Oh, and by the way, he's a little bit of an a-hole in come playoff time too.
Good.
So it's something that we all gonna love. I still think that there are some holes, nothing glaring, but I'm still wondering who's going to play that backup point. I would like some more depth, especially at that power, some more height there as well. I'm just curious how the offensive rebounding is going to be fixed as well, because that's something, James, that we've struggled with in the past couple playoff series that we've got.
Yeah, I think that's on Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
I think,
Good
offensive and defensive rebounding, I think that's a schematic thing. They need to scheme up ways to be better on the glass, because we've seen that in the playoffs. That Knicks series was incredibly annoying, but I think there's ways that Nick Nurse can counterbalance that. Completely agree about that. But yeah, I think that's a Nick Nurse problem. Yeah. And this is gonna be a fun team, and we'll talk to Devon coming up shortly. There's a guy out there like Sadiq Bey who's coming off an ACL injury. I know it's not that realistic, but Gary Trent Jr.'s out there. Yeah. Is there any way you can start to sway some of these guys? I would love another shooter.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the power forward thing, I saw some people kind of getting pissed online, who's our four? And it's Caleb Martin is the 4.
You don't need like a 7-foot power forward anymore.
It's 2 through 4 is kind of positionless.
Isn't John Collins like 6'9" or 6'10", something like that?
Yeah,
and he's a solid power forward.
It was really solid. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. I didn't expect to be here, but that's kind of what's popping off. You know, I sat down to do the show prep yesterday, and I was like, you know, I'm fresh off a Wrigley trip, and the Phillies are coming up on a trade deadline, best team in baseball, 7 All-Stars, and we'll get into all that stuff today. But, like, the thing I kept coming back to was the Sixers, and I think Daryl Morey is owed a bouquet of flowers at his feet.
He does. He did a solid job, and there's no denying that this team is better than last year's team, and so that's what needs to make you feel
Tobias
better.
Harris isn't here.
And that's the other point, too. Like, you don't have a max player putting up on the score sheet, right? Like, you have Paul George. He's not going to put 0. I mean, there's some criticism about his playoff performances, but also remember, guys, he's not the top option. He doesn't have Kawhi Leonard, you know, getting hurt in the middle of a playoff series. You know, we'll see what Joel's health is, but Maxey, as we saw yesterday, I'm sure we'll get to that as well. All the excitement around his extension too, but he's going to take another step in his career, and I think that Paul George is probably, honestly, James, he's in the best position of his career as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, to not have to have the pressures of being a top 2 gun on this team and just be a guy that, you know, when Joel does go out for a little period of missed time due to an injury, and I'm all about bubble wrapping him at this point. I don't give a damn if he only plays the 41 home games and that's it. Like, just get that man to the playoffs healthy, because that's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. The Sixers have had some really good rosters over the years, but unfortunately, Joel Embiid's been healthy, truly healthy for the playoffs once, and that was the COVID year and the bubble and the Disney bubble and that weirdness. So, like, that almost doesn't even count in a way. So this man hasn't even been 90% or better in a playoff. So that's at the end of the day what the Sixers' title chances boil down to. And we can get into maybe with Brad a little bit coming up on Bet Park stuff about, you know, title odds. The Celtics are still really good. Yeah. It's hard to repeat. Then you got the West. But, like, if Joel Embiid is healthy, I fully believe that this team can play and beat anybody in the NBA.
Yeah, and a lot of people, the discussion around the league, especially in the Eastern Conference, has been, obviously everyone still expects Boston to beat Boston, but it's below that. What's after that? So it does feel like, you know, it's going to be neck and neck between Philly and New York. That's kind of fun, man.
It's pretty damn fun. And I think they're better than the Knicks, because I think when you look at a series like that, the Sixers still have probably 3 of the top 4 players in that series.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I'll give Jalen Brunson his due but I would take Tyrese over Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
And then you go Paul George, Jalen Brunson. So I'll put Jalen Brunson 3rd and Paul George 4th, but you have Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. That's going to be, you know, seismic against any big 3 you go against.
I think the one thing that one's going to bring up is just Hartenstein. I mean, how many points did Hartenstein put up in the boards that he got as well? And then you look at us, obviously the obvious is Joel Embiid's health, but behind Joel, Andre Drummond, who was probably the best backup big that Joel's had in his career, he's back. And talk about rebounds. My man's a rebound machine, James.
Yeah, Drummond can get boards, no doubt about it. And yeah, he is the best backup center we've had. I mean, when you think about some of the names that have backed up Joel during the time here, like Calvin Booth and Roy Hibbert, and, you know, like, it gets bad.
Big DeAndre Jordan guy.
Yeah. And DeAndre Jordan at the time, I was like, this is great. This is a competent NBA player. And then I was like, oh, wait, DeAndre Jordan's cooked. Yeah, so Andre Drummond is a solid move. Let's talk about Tyrese Maxey, because it became official over the weekend that Tyrese's deal, and the pecking order of these things is like, you had to wait for the Buddy Hield sign and trade, which ended up being crazy in a 6-team sign and trade. The NBA is just wild with their offseason. So you had to wait for like that to complete before you could do this, before you could sign Eric Gordon, and it's just like, there's a whole cat nerd level to the event of things. But Tyrese signs his extension. Congratulations. You're one of the most beloved Sixers in a long time. And the Sixers last night put out a pretty cool video.
Oh, my God, dude.
I didn't think I was going to – I saw it was 6.5 minutes, and I was like, what the hell is this? I don't have 6.5 minutes as I scroll my phone for an hour. And then I click on the video, and it was a presentation that the Sixers gave to Tyrese. They didn't date it. I wonder if they did it last year to convince him to wait.
Yeah.
Or if that was shot this offseason as a like party for his contract. Because part of me, when I was watching it, went, this feels like it was last year, and they're just going like, dude, we got you. We're going to show you this, pony show here to show you how much we got you. Well, you had to get Tyrese and Rich Paul to buy into waiting a year. So all of this was possible. But it was probably done this offseason as a party for his extension. But there was videos from Dawn Staley and Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid ended up being there as well. And a couple other celebrities. And then you had Dr. J waiting in a room for him, his friends and family.
Oh my God,
John Calipari was on. And it was just like this homage to Tyrese Maxey. And he was going room to room, and some had highlights of his videos, some had old coaches. One room, they gave him the old Sixers AI jersey right there, as you see. Now people online are going, wait, are they bringing back the Black Iverson era jerseys?
Dude.
So your thoughts on that jersey? Is that your top Sixers jersey?
It has to be, and especially like our generation, like it's something about that jersey just brings something out of us.
Well, it feels successful.
Well, yes, but it's also like like the Kelly Green's nice, but it doesn't get me like super excited.
That puts lead in my pencil.
Yeah. Well, that black jersey puts lead in my pencil, and I think it's just AI. I think it's just that era. You feel like that underdog mentality for some reason when it comes to that jersey too.
When you talk about like coolness levels in NBA history, I mean, he's probably a top like 3 or 4 coolest player ever.
Yeah, man.
I mean, so I think everybody just associates that jersey with like Iverson coolness. So we'll see. I don't know if the Sixers are going to bring him back. They've been talking about it for years. Mitchell and Ness has been teasing people for years.
It's also just a badass jersey.
Yeah. I see
the red and black.
How do you feel about it?
So I like the symbol. I like the coloring.
Okay.
I hate the shoulder. I hate the thick shoulders.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm anti-thick shoulders.
That was a
on
thing
that
in the
jersey.
2000s.
They're ugly.
Well, maybe they'll tone them down. Maybe they'll shorten them up a little bit.
They've done that, I feel like, for a throwback, and then it looks weird because it's different. So I don't know what the right answer is. I like the jersey. I just don't like the shoulders.
Nothing was worse than like 2010s. The NBA decided, why don't we put T-shirts on the players? Remember that?
Yeah.
The Heat, the Suns wore them. I thought those were disgustingly ugly. Not disgusting in a good way, disgusting in a bad way.
Yeah, so we'll find out, I guess, in the near future if the Sixers are bringing those back. But it was a really cool weekend to see Tyrese and Joel, and I think I got a little emotional during it.
It was, and by the way,
Tyrese cried a couple times. Yeah, it was very cool.
I know it's a special moment for Tyrese, but James, the one thing I took away from it is dude, since the minute we saw Joel Embiid play against the Oklahoma City Thunder, we have been wondering who's going to be that point guard to run alongside with Joel Embiid, right? Your Kobe and your Shaq, right? And then we went through Ben Simmons. It didn't work out. We all thought it would be James Harden because it just made sense on paper, and that didn't work out. But who would have thought that it would have been after the lottery pick? It was 20th overall from Kentucky, Tyrese Maxey.
And if it's not for COVID, you don't get them that far.
It's crazy how everything works out.
It
but
really
he's
is.
been the perfect complementary piece to Joel Embiid.
Yeah, he really has. And to see their relationship and their love for one another in that video last night was super, super cool.
Super special,
if you had fears about Joel Embiid going anywhere, I don't think you have to worry about that for the next 3 years after seeing him and Tyrese together. We'll talk about all this and more momentarily with our buddy Devon Givens, who's going to join us. But right now, I got to tell you about our friends over at True Fan Travel. I've been dealing with True Fan Travel since its inception, and it's just the best. If you want a great experience in the world of sports, make sure you're using True Fan Travel. It's your passport to the world of sports. Over 8,000 fans have traveled on nearly 150 trips. Don't just watch the game, live it. Travel to the most sought-after games worldwide, including football to baseball, basketball, soccer, and more. Like if JP wanted to get down to Charlotte to watch Columbia this week, I would say go check out True Fan Travel. Exclusive meet and greets with former players. You can shake hands, snap photos, and share moments with former players of your favorite sports. And the best part, it's hassle-free travel planning by travel experts who make sure every detail is covered. From game days to excursion to travel to and from the airport, it's simply the best. Just shut off your mind and go enjoy your trip. You can explore a wide selection of destinations, including iconic sports cities and hidden gems where the spirit of the games come alive. True Fan Travel is your trusted travel partner for professional sporting events around the world. Visit truefantravel.com clubhouse.com to learn more and to find your next adventure.
All righty, guys. Well, first off, I have to apologize to our buddy here, Jamie Lynch, because after the 4th of July weekend, I caught a little bit of sun. So now today, I'm shedding like a snake here, and unfortunately, Jamie has to suffer through all that. But after the show, what I'm going to do, and I'm sure if you guys are in the same spot, you should do the same thing too, is head to our friends over at Rite Aid, guys. All right? Rite Aid has everything you need, especially for all of your sun protection or after the sun. Get some moisturizer, put it on your hands, your face, your arms, whatever it may be. That's where we're going to head on over to Rite Aid for. And it's not only just for sun needs, anything medication-wise, cosmetics, you name it. Rite Aid's our spot. It's everything we need for pharmacy services. And with a My Pharmacy account at Rite Aid, you can refill your prescriptions, schedule a vaccine, get personalized recommendations, sign up for prescription notifications. All you need to do is get started with the prescription at Rite Aid today. Get started at riteaid.com/mypharmacy. Stop stressing about your prescriptions, guys. Let Rite Aid refill them for you automatically. Enroll in automated courtesy refills. It's free, easy, and most prescriptions qualify. Talk to your Rite Aid pharmacist or sign up through My Pharmacy account at riteaid.com, and restrictions do apply. Get your prescriptions at the same time with one-trip refills. Ask your pharmacist to sync your medications so you can pick them up with one visit, guys. You can sync with other family members as well. Just ask your local Rite Aid pharmacist to get started. And again, restrictions do apply. Manage prescriptions with the Rite Aid mobile app. Transfer or refill your prescriptions. Set up medication reminders. Enroll prescription notifications. All you got to do, guys, if you have an iPhone or if you have an Android, you can download through the Apple App Store or through the Google Play Store. It's that simple, and you can get started here today. Transfer your prescriptions to Rite Aid today. Go to riteaid.com/transfer. Rite Aid caring pharmacists are ready to answer all your questions and help you stay healthy. Get your prescriptions along with anything else at Rite Aid you may need, including over-the-counter medications, household products, cosmetics, and much, much more. Just ask your pharmacy team for details. And again, restrictions do apply. So for whatever you may need around the house for your health, consider our friends over at Rite Aid, James.
Yes, and when you speak of friends, I'm going to welcome into the show one of my good buddies. We go back a long way, and Devon knows how bad I've been down in the gutter. I've been Sixers dead, Devon. I've been MF in this team and F this and F that, and I've been down bad. And I didn't think it was possible for me to be as back as I am. I'm fully back, Devon. I'm ready to get hurt again. Let's go.
You and a lot of people back. Maybe you do a couple of signings, a big one, right? The biggest fish out there, and everybody's back in. But no, man, I mean, not only you, but so many other people have said the exact same thing, that, I'm done at the end of the season. They get knocked out in the first round. They get knocked out in the second round, and they go out there and they sign Paul George, bring back Kelly Oubre, a few other additions. The Caleb Martin one just at the end of last week. I see why you're back in now.
Yeah, and I started the show today, Devon. I think even the staunchest Daryl Morey doubters, haters, whatever you want to call them, have to go, damn. Hat tip to you, sir, from punting and convincing Rich Paul last offseason to not sign that deal to, having the financial advantage other teams didn't have with Paul George to now putting out the bat signals for some of those vets to come join. The guy, I mean, I don't know how you give him anything other than an A+ this offseason, because I thought it was a treacherous offseason ahead.
He's done a fantastic job. And whether you like Daryl Morey or not, when you're critical of him, it's because you simply feel like he's not doing a good enough job. So when you say you don't like him and then he does something well, you just give him the credit that you feel like he's deserving of in the moment for what he did in the offseason to put this team together on paper that looks like they're, again, going to be able to compete for the Eastern Conference crown. So when he does all of these things, he makes all these moves. The one last summer of not signing Tyrese Maxey to the extension, I was also critical just because I felt he was deserving of it. Now, I wasn't sure about if he was worth $200 million at that time, where you saw Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, among others, get their extensions off of their rookie deals. He comes in and he shuts me up. Not that I didn't like Maxey. Was just curious, like, wow, that $200 million number is a $200 million number. So now that we've seen him again in a new role under a new coach as the co-star to Joel Embiid, makes his first All-Star team in conversation for All-NBA at the end of the campaign, the guy was certainly worthy of it. And because of that, they were able to go out there and do what they did with the Paul George thing. And all of the machinations of the salary cap and things that Derek Bodner can explain to both of us when we have our
Yeah,
glasses,
that's Bodner's
pencils
job.
there, right? Yeah, to make us smarter. He did a fantastic. He really did do a good job. And even when it got a little dicey there for a second, right before free agency got underway, where the question was, would Paul George actually hit the free agent market, or was he going to opt in and seek a sign and trade where it would pretty much take the 76ers off the table?
Yeah.
Because the key for the Sixers was they could just flat out sign him and not use any draft picks, any assets to bring him in. So they were able to do that, and a lot of credit has to go to Daryl Morey, his team in the front office, Elton Brand and company, of being able to position themselves to do what they did to pull people like yourself and others back in.
So Devon, Daryl Morey tweets out the picture of Harris and Blitzer and Elton and him and Paul George and Dr. J. And I have two observations from the photo. One, can we get fashion critic Devon to weigh in on Dr. J's shirt? What do you think
start
about
with
that?
one?
Yeah, let's start there.
I would not wear it.
Okay.
But he's Julius Erving. He's Dr. J.
Yeah. You can pull off anything when you're
Enough
Dr.
said.
J.
Exactly.
All right, my second observation, Paul George. And you can reach us on the phone lines, pound 94610-632. Paul George makes everybody take the shoes off.
Yeah.
You respect that move? I think I get it, but I think it's
respect it. Because look,
it's his house.
They came there it's his house. That's the rule. But they came there to see me. They came there to court me. What are they going to do? Say, no, I'm not going to sign you now because you made me take off my
kind of the question. Is it a power move, or do you think he makes everybody? Was this hey, you're about to give me a lot of money, I'm the boss here type of move, or do you think he respects his hardwood floor so much that he makes everybody drop the shoes?
I think that's the case. Also, a little bit for him, a little bit of a negative for him. Okay, make them take the shoes off, but where are the slippers?
Yeah.
Where are the slippers for everyone to slide their feet in there as they walking around and dusting your floor to get to wherever we're going to sit down? So that's the only thing I would have said, and I thought that everybody had cool socks on except for
See, I would have been barefoot walking around leaving footprints in Paul George's house. There was just a lot of money in that picture for a bunch of dudes to be standing around in their socks. That really jumped out at me. Yeah.
Well, that's a big money house. He wants his house to stay clean. He doesn't want those dirty footprints there. So, I get it. I'm okay with it. But
Okay.
Dr. J, you could pull off that shirt. I could not.
It was a horrible shirt.
That's not a problem for Jamie. He's always in flip-flops.
Yeah,
so
I'd
easy.
just be barefoot.
Just throw them on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. Yeah, no question.
All right, Devon, so what's next? We know Daryl Morey likes to go into a season with the 14 spots filled up. Money is now limited. You, Kyle, and Derek do a great job of breaking that down for all of us lay people who are just here for the vibes and don't care about the cap. What is realistic? I know there's guys out there like Gary Trent Jr., who's above their pay grade, who I would love here. I would love to take a shot.
Relationship with Nick Nurse.
Okay. I would love to take a shot on a Sadiq Bey, get him healthy for a playoff run. What do you think is realistic here? Is Kyle Lowry potentially back as a backup point guard, or is he going to get better offers? What do you think is kind of next here for the Sixers?
I do think somewhere along the line they'll pick up another ball handler, point guard, for the role that you're talking about, whether it be Kyle Lowry, familiarity with campaign, aka Terry Johnson, or maybe someone else. I've been stomping for Dennis Smith Jr. a little bit, which I've gotten a lot of pushback for.
He's been your guy for a while.
On our show for a long time, as you know. Yeah, going back to college, but different role that he is in right now.
Sure.
And so I'm pushing for him a little bit. Maybe a little more front court help. If you lose Paul Reed in that and waiving him, you're now down another body. Even though you have Adem Bona and of course you bring Andre Drummond in, but a little more front court help at the power forward position with some skill there. I think that's still something that they should address, even in a reserve role. And as you mentioned, they just have to fill out some spots. So ball handler in particular. Front court help where you can add some scoring maybe at that forward position. Marcus Morris's name has been mentioned quite a bit. Could he make a return here to Philadelphia, get a full training camp with Nick Nurse again after being here for a short time? So I think those are some of the things. You mentioned Sadiq Bey. I like it. ACL torn in March. Hard worker. I'm sure that he's looking to get back. He's still young. When he does come back, he'll be on some sort of prove-it deal. And it would be a pretty good spot here going into the postseason. The only problem with that, as you know, and as we both know, with the ACL, you're not going to go out there and be yourself right away. So how much are you really getting from him? That would be more of a future deal potentially, just because of you taking advantage of a situation right there with a player coming off of a major knee injury and trying to get him back and then incorporate him into your system. And as you mentioned with Gary Trent Jr., again, just the familiarity being in Toronto with Nick Nurse. And while he and Pascal Siakam were two names that were mentioned that had some rough times with Nick Nurse in Toronto, especially being called out publicly and through the media, trying to put a little more pressure on them to play much better. Kyle Neubeck on our show that based on what he had understood, a little more information finding out, a little more just digging, that it wasn't as bad as Pascal Siakam. So maybe there's something that could still be smoothed over. You bring in that guy that's a shooter, and that will be, again, a more welcome sight to the lineup, because shooting, as we know, is at a premium here in the NBA. So that wouldn't be a bad look at all.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't. It's exciting as hell. Devon, did you get a chance to watch the 6.5-minute Tyrese video last night that the Sixers put out? I did, and my biggest takeaway was how great the relationship is between Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. I think we've finally gotten to a place where we have a true power duo that would kill for one another. That was my takeaway from the video. Did you watch it, and did you kind of feel the same way?
I did. Great job by them to put it out at like 9:30 at night and still get all the buzz to it that they did.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. For Joel to be there, Joel Embiid to be there, for Tyrese Maxey, for Maxey to get emotional. And we know he's that type of player anyway, just a smiling guy, a very emotional guy, wears his heart on his sleeve, works really hard. But he brings so much joy and happiness to the locker room, to the training facility in Camden, and just to the organization overall. So when you see Joel Embiid, who has had some rough times in the past with his co-stars, most notably, as we know, with Ben Simmons, but to see him for a guy, and I heard JP mention, to get him so late at 2021, whatever it was, in 2020, and add him to the team, and he becomes the best co-star that he's ever had. And it's not even close. I mean, you could say it a little bit for Jimmy Butler, but he was only here for 70-plus games. And while we would have liked to have seen him back here, Tyrese Maxey is the best co-star that he has had. And it's been amazing to see those two work together to create the partnership that they have, where many of us, Paul George coming in and getting a max contract, we still look at Tyrese Maxey and say he's the second guy on this team. This is his franchise in the future. And Joel Embiid has said as much so many times, where he said he is the franchise. And he's setting that up because he has the ability, and he's shown that not only with the personality, but with his play on the floor, to be able to carry a franchise potentially later on when Joel Embiid is starting to go on a decline. And to see that, it's really cool to see those two together. And it was great to see Joel Embiid there to support him and tell Maxey to tell him that, hey, I don't want to let you down. You know, you've had my back from day one. You've told me how good you thought I could be, and I'm not going to let you down. And I appreciate everything that you have done.
Yeah, this is, the part of Joel's career where he's matured into that leadership role, and I think you'll see some of that coming up with Team USA. But this part of the program is brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. This is the big story today with Devon Givens. I can't stop thinking about the Sixers, and TrueMark Financial Credit Union has you covered. Check out TrueMark.com/PHLY or stop into your local branch to learn more about the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. Devon, I think that leadership role, I'm more excited and intrigued by Joel Embiid on Team USA than I thought I'd ever be. And, based off of my social media sleuthing a little bit, I think Joel Embiid gets it. He's starting to follow around Anthony Edwards. He found a new puppy on the team, and he's buddying up to him, and he's going out on the post-practice shoot-arounds and talking to Anthony Edwards. Joel Embiid is no dummy. Good job, Joel. Go play that Team USA game very well.
The recruiting game, are you saying?
I mean, it's hard not to think that a guy's going to want out of Minnesota. Winners there are absolutely terrible. He signs his deal. The timeline kind of links up a little bit with Paul George and his decline. Just saying, if you go get Anthony Edwards to join Philadelphia in a couple of years, good work, Joel. Thank you, buddy.
That would be a great sales pitch. The only I would push back on this. Tim Connolly has
Don't
done a
ruin
hell
my
of a
dream.
job. Sorry, Tim Connolly has done a hell of a job of putting together that Minnesota basketball team, that organization, that franchise.
Yeah.
There's still a potential of, if things don't work out with Karl Anthony Towns, they can maybe move him for some things. Rudy Gobert eventually be done. Rob Dillingham, that was a great move on
That
draft
was a
night,
good move.
trading with
Damn.
the Spurs to take him at number 8. So, again, I love what you're saying, but I think the pushback there is Tim Connolly has done not only a fantastic job with Denver in setting them up, but then going to Minnesota and doing the exact same thing where they were contending for a number 1 seed in the West. Here's what I would say, though. I would say this about Team USA, and I know a lot of people have not liked the idea of Joel Embiid playing for Team USA because of the injury and rest and all of that. Well,
Sure.
we're starting off in July. He's going to play some meaningful games with some winners, some leaders on that team. He is going to see how they do things. It's not the All-Star game. That's an exhibition. This is for a gold medal, and they take this very seriously.
Sure.
So I think that's one piece of it. The second piece is this. So much as we talk about the injury part where people worry about that, he's not going to play 40 minutes. He's not going to play all 40 minutes. He's probably going to play about 20. He had Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis also there as well. So they can go some small ball lineups. But the other piece for me is when so many people look at Joel Embiid at training camp and going into preseason where we may see him for one game in the start of the regular season, it's that he's not in basketball and not in game shape. He's going to be in game shape. Even though he may have a couple of weeks off before the start of training camp, the ramp up here for what he's doing with this competition, the level that they're going to be playing against teams like Canada and Serbia, where they have to take it. And again, seriously being out there on the floors with those other countries of how good they are, he's going to be in basketball shape. So for me, those are the two things that stand out among the most for me is the fact that he's going to be around those players who have won before on the Olympic level. And again, have won championships in the NBA as well. Then other part, which is most important too, is that the fact that he will be in shape by the time the season gets underway, and he'll probably be a little bit ahead of schedule than we've seen in the past when he gets out there on the floor. We know he can drop 33 at any time, no matter what his weight says. But to have him in better basketball shape to start the season, I think that's a key part of what Team USA is going to bring here for him.
Yeah, and just visualizing and seeing yourself win, I think it does a lot.
He's never done it.
Yeah,
never done
at any
it.
level, really. So
you get that taste of winning, and you want to bring that back. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, two last ones for you. Are the Sixers bringing back the black Iverson jerseys? That part of the Maxey video last night has some people buzzing a little bit. Do you think that's a possibility at all?
This season?
Probably not this season, but do you think it's in the next 3 to 4 year plan for the Sixers?
No comment. Next question.
All right. And then the last one for you, Devon. I asked JP this earlier. The 2019 Sixers starting 5 of Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, or this Sixers starting 5 of Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid. If you had to go into his playoff series knowing what you know now, and I'm not saying revisionist, Ben Simmons is going to not take shots because he was a very good player at the time.
Yeah.
Which 5 are you taking?
I would take 2019 because I feel like it's more well-rounded, has some size to it, where this one I really, really like. But when you're talking about a team that should have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals and probably an NBA Finals, that was the best grouping that they had there together with the 5-man unit that they had, including Harris, Embiid, Simmons, Butler, and Redick. This one is really good. I like the switchability that they're going to have with the wings. I love all of that stuff. Maxey, again, year 5, and he's already an all-star. He knows how good he is and can be. Can he improve his playmaking? Joel Embiid coming off a potential gold medal. And how many more chances is he going to have? I really like this one, but that one was so damn good that one trumps this one right now.
It almost
Until
seems
I see it. 2019.
I agree with you. I think that one was more talented, and it's kind of insane to think
they were number 1 seed, Jay.
It's kind of insane to think they had
close.
those 5 guys in a starting lineup, and if it's not for a quadruple doink, I think they get it done. But what the hell?
That classic Sports Illustrated cover, man. Classic. and they did not do what they were supposed to do to make it even more of a classic. Yes.
Yeah, there's 3 instances in my life, Devon, where I can actually remember falling down to my knees in like shock and jubilation. And one was horror. One was the quadruple doink. One was the Chris Jenkins game winner for Villanova, and one was the Eagles Super Bowl, the final Hail Mary. I was more on my knees because I thought I was going to puke. But those are the 3 like most like just soul either elating or crushing moments of my sports life. Yeah.
The last 2 I was at home watching, and I felt the same experience as you, excitement. The first one, I was in the studio, put my feet up on a chair like I typically did in the studio, watching the game before a post-game show. I got up, folded my book, and went over and sat down to get ready for one of the worst post-game shows that I was ready to do. So
I do not envy that. Yeah. No. Well, Devon, you, Kyle, and Derek are absolutely crushing it. Best Sixers coverage in town by a mile. 2:30 today?
No. Actually, we are off today because
I called you in on an off day.
Today is our travel day. We traveled to Las Vegas today, this afternoon, for Team USA coverage beginning tomorrow. For us, we attend practice tomorrow and the game on Wednesday against Canada, the exhibition game against Canada. And then we'll have our summer league coverage going all the way through next Tuesday, in Las Vegas. So that's why I have my bucket hat on. I'm ready to go, Jay.
All right.
JP, I have my shirts. I saw JP and his lovely fiance. I had to get some because it's hot as hell out there. My family's out there already. My daughter looked at this. She said, Dad, it's going to be a buck. She said it's going to be a $1.18 already out there, Dad. So make sure you have some T-shirts. And I'm like,
just know,
literally.
Just know Devon never wears the same T-shirt. Just know that, guys. Fresh to death. I love it, Devon.
Well, have a great trip.
I have my bucket, my Shady Rays ready to go, man.
Nice.
So we're off today. We're back tomorrow at 2:30.
Love it. I didn't even know you guys were going out there, and I'm giving you all these praises about being the best Sixers coverage in town. Who else has got you covered for Joel Embiid, Team USA, and Sixers Summer League? Really looking forward to it. Devon, as always, appreciate it. Safe travels, and have a great trip.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, JP.
All right. See you. There's Devon Givens. Make sure you're checking out him, Derek, and Kyle this week as they're out in Vegas attending some Team USA festivities with Joel Embiid and getting ready for Sixers Summer League. Now it's time to transition over to The Grind with Brad Feinberg, which, of course, is brought to us by the wonderful people at Bet Park Sportsbook. They got you covered. Get in the zone with the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Money is in the moments. Tons of events are always on the table, whether it's the All-Star game coming up next week or the Phillies series this week. You got Team USA, you got Olympics starting soon. Whatever it is, Bet Parks has got you covered. You can win big with all-day action. Win your first $10 bet and earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet with Bet Parks. Download the app and play along with us. Must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's welcome into the segment, The Grind with Brad Feinberg, presented by Brett Parks. Brad, how are you today, sir?
Brain. Brad the Brain Feinberg.
Forgot about the open.
Good morning. Yeah, no, I hear you. Wait, hang on. Let me move this camera. I apologize. I got to see if I'm up, if I'm down. How you go? Is that hopefully better?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, very, very good. How you guys doing this morning?
Doing great, Brad. I'm fresh off a trip to Chicago and Wrigleyville, and the Phillies have been keeping their head above water during this injury period of time right now. I was curious, when you're examining, looking at lines, and in hindsight yesterday, Phillies going to Atlanta with Michael Mercado, like the Braves were kind of a layup type of play in hindsight. How much, like when you're evaluating games, does the injury thing come into play?
Well, obviously it comes in a lot. Right now, the Philadelphia Phillies lineup is missing arguably three of their four best hitters, maybe call it, right? So obviously with JT, of course, Bryce and Schwarber, and I, probably actually maybe three of the rest five as Alex Bohm and Trey Turner. But my point is, three elite hitters, three really good players are out for them right now. So obviously it's a situation where, look, they're not going to be scoring the runs. So yesterday, for example, I took Ronaldo Lopez to give up under 2.5 runs. I'm more right now fading the Phillies offense more than anything else. Not necessarily the games, because listen, obviously Suarez has maybe hit a little bit of a wall, but with Suarez, Sanchez, Nola, and Wheeler, those are 4 guys that still theoretically can shut down the opponent's lineup pretty easily. So to me, I'm more apt to bet the Phillies team total on under right now, which is what I've done a bunch. And I got pinched in one game. They scored 3 runs off Manja on the Cubs. Showed Manja the other day. He had a 1 run through 5, and they gave up a 2-run homer, I think, to it was Alex Baum in the 6th inning. But more or less, they've been going under and runs scored a bunch. And like, to me, that's how I think is the best way to attack these things is going taking the Phillies team total under runs, because missing their top players, it's not easy to score runs.
No, it's not at all. So Brad, what are some things you're looking at today?
Well, it's interesting today. Look, it was a tough slate today. I didn't really love today's card, but I'm going to take a long shot bet. I call these pizza bets where if you win, you're going to be really happy. And if you lose, maybe don't put a ton on it. But the math on it is quite good. And it's Mets slugger Pete Alonso to hit a home run. And right now on the Park site, it's plus 510.
Ooh.
Okay, plus 510 at a home run. He's going against Mitch Keller, who's decent, not a good pitcher, not a great pitcher. But what I like about this bet, 85 starts this year. Okay, Pete Alonso's hit a home run in 1785, so he's 17-68 in doing it, which means he should theoretically be a 4-1 underdog. For this year, he should be plus 400. Well, we're getting plus 510. So right off the bat, that's a good bet. But when I go back the past 3 years, because this has been the worst stretch Pete Alonso still had in hitting home runs, and even with that stretch, it should only be plus 400. Last 3 years, 96-308, which is a 24% home run clip, which means you should be hitting around plus 316. Again, we're getting almost 200 basis points higher than that. We're getting plus 510 on the Park slate. Plus 510 when in the last 3 years, this guy's hitting a home run 24% of the time. This is all basic math, guys. That's all it is. The true odds based on the last 3 years of data, plus 316. You're going to give me plus 510. You have to be able to put in a bet that you know is probably going to lose. And sometimes that's not easy to do. You're like, oh, the bet's so hard at a home run. I don't want to do that. But if you did this bet every single day for the rest of the extra 80 games of the year, I guarantee you that it would be a profitable bet. Pete Alonso should not be getting over 5-1 odds, and unless he's going against like Zach Wheeler types, elite starting pitchers. Keller's a good starter, but certainly not an unbearable matchup. Even if it was Paul Skeens, I'd be scared. But Keller's the kind of guy who could still give up 3 or 4 runs. I like Alonso to home run. I think it's a really good math bet, guys.
Yeah, and I think he's heated up a little bit recently too, as the Mets have heated up. So I was shocked to hear 5-1 there for
it's
the
too high.
It does. Seem high.
It's too high. Again, even in a year like this year where he's had, this has been his, if you look at Pete Alonso's career, check it out. Go, anyone watching right now, look at Pete Alonso's career. This has been the worst home run pace he's ever had. Okay. Now, I don't think he's just magically lost abilities, but even with that, again, even with this being the worst he's been in his entire career, it's still been a 20% winning bet, which means we should be getting 4-1. So if you're giving us plus 510, okay, just think about it right now. Here's how you have to look at it is if you're 17-68, if we're getting plus 510, that 17 times 5.1 is about 88 or so. It would be like 88 and 68. We'd still be up 20 units just doing this bet every single day this year. Despite Alonso having his worst career year, you'd still be up. If you bet this every single game this year, to be up 20 units. That's pretty good.
Yeah. What else you got your eye on here today, Brad?
Well, that was, look, it's funny because like this was a hard slate for me today. I didn't bet it, but I lean Cincinnati Reds today. Feltner to me, not a great pitcher. Abbott, probably the Reds' de facto number 1 starter. Usually keeps him in the game, pitches pretty well. Reds have gotten Noelvi Martel back, one of their best young players. To go with Steer and Candelario, Ellie De La Cruz. So I kind of think that the Reds are going to start to maybe score a little more runs. Be a lean here for Cincinnati, but again, not enough for me to actually put in a bet on it. The one thing that I actually really thought was worth it was the Pete Alonso bet, just because, as I said, the math on it's really good. But I know it's hard to put in bets that you're probably going to lose. But man, if you make that plus 510, tomorrow will be a very sunny day.
Yeah. So, Brad, I'm curious, and I don't mean to throw you on the spot here, but we have MLB All-Star Game coming up. We have the Olympics coming up. Are these things you kind of peruse and look at? Do you find them to be profitable, or is it too kind of showy?
Well, no. Well, listen, Olympics is stuff. Look, there'll be people that I follow, okay,
Sure.
that I respect, that I'll maybe get their insights on stuff that they're an expert in. I am not an expert in the Olympics at all. Me personally, I just don't have the bandwidth and the time to follow it with all the other stuff I'm doing. But there are people that do, and yes, I will follow some of the stuff that they have that you can find edge on for sure. I will say I do think the USA basketball team to me this year seems like it's one of the better teams they've had in a while.
Yeah.
I actually think it has a chance to be. I know the USA hasn't had this success the last couple times that we, as USA we expect to have. I do think they'll be improved from that aspect. But no, I don't know. It's definitely not a waste. And if you follow a certain sport, I think there could be more inefficiencies in Olympic betting than there can be, like, for example, betting Major League Baseball or NBA or NFL football, because, it's hard to keep an eye on the entire world, so to speak, right?
Sure.
So I'm sure if you know a certain sport, there's certainly a chance you know it better than these lines makers who are trying to put up lines for a million different things, right? And if you're just following like one specific track and field event or one swimming event that you just know, or maybe you follow college swimming and because your best friend is a swimmer or whatever, and you just know that one event and you know everything about that event because you've been following it for the last 10 years because you've been following your friend or whatnot. Maybe you know the line truly better than the people who are making these lines, who are just trying to do their best based off whatever data they can come up with. So I definitely would not call it a waste. I would just say it's, again, you have the bandwidth and the time to truly investigate, because actually you probably can find some pretty good hidden gems.
Yeah. And this is The Grind, brought to you by Bet Parks, and he is the brain, Brad Feinberg. Brad, we appreciate the time, and we will
appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you again tomorrow.
Pete Alonso, buddy.
All right, Pete Alonso, 5-1. I love it.
All right, man. Be good.
All right, see you, Brad. There is the brain, Brad Feinberg, and that is The Grind, brought to you by Bet Parks. Get in the action with the Bet Parks Sportsbook.
All righty. Well, guys, listen, Brad's going to teach you how to make some of that money, but let me tell you something you can use to manage that money that you now have. And let's talk about our friends over at TrueMark Financial, ladies and gentlemen, because we're all trying to budget our money, especially with this inflationary rate that we're living in. We're all trying to save a buck or two. But let me tell you a little bit more about TrueMark Financial. Budget for kids' sports activities with TrueMark Financial's money management tool in their online banking mobile app. Managing family finances includes budgeting for kids' sports leagues. Create a separate budget category for sports expenses to track costs effectively. Involve your kids in budget discussions to teach financial responsibility. I'm sure the bro will tell you himself. It's extremely important, no matter how young they are. Get that started right away. Going on a group trip for away games like myself. It's still easy to keep track of your spending with the mobile banking app. Mobile banking apps offer convenience for managing finances on the go. Features like the card locking provide added security and peace of mind in case you lose your card. We've all been there, guys. And it doesn't hurt having that tool in your app there, so you can just hit that button and boom, you can lock the card. Maybe you find it. Hey, they'll send you out a new card. It's extremely helpful for sure. And here's what you got to do, guys, all right? Get your credit union career started here today. You can head on over to truemark.com/PHLY, or best part about TrueMark Financial is that they are headquartered locally here in the area. Fort Washington to be exact. They have 24 branches in the area as well. So if you're more old school like myself, you can go right into one of those branches and talk to one of the great employees that they have there, give you some further information, or like I said, go to truemark.com/PHLY. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. Guys, consider your credit union career. Get it started here today. And thank you to our friends over at TrueMark Financial, James.
Yeah, absolutely. Based right there in Fort Washington, right by my house. So very near and dear to the area. Another place that is located right here in our backyard is the Bet Parks Casino. We were just talking about the Bet Parks Sportsbook. But of course, the casino is a perfect after-work get-together plate, date night, or even maybe a girls' or guys' night out. You can have great cocktails, and you can soak up the warm weather and the good vibes right now at Parks Casino. This is how you win. It's our casino of choice. one I've been going to for a long time, with $5 happy hours with great food and drink every Wednesday through Sunday at the Liberty Bell Gastropub. Enjoy $5 drafts of Forged Stout, Victory Seasonal, or the Parks Pilsner. $5 glasses of Cabernet, and of course the drinks of summer, $5 twisted teas, frozen whiskey Arnold Palmers, hello, plus feast on flavor-packed $5 small plates, braised short rib sliders, honey chicken sliders, rotisserie chicken flatbreads. You had me at short ribs. The all-new Parks Epic $5 happy hour is happening right now. Summer is approaching and all roads lead to Bet Parks, the #1 casino in Pennsylvania. Parks Casino has over 3,200 state-of-the-art slots, 115 live table games, a beautiful poker room, plus a collection of award-winning restaurants. You can check out Joe Conklin's Comedy Night with headliner Joe Bartnick on Thursday, June 20th, which was in the past. So don't go to that one, but Joe Conklin's there all the time. Headliners every weekend at the 1,500-seat Excite Center at Parks Casino. Tiffany Haddish, she was just at Michael Rubin's White Party. She's that big. She'll be there September 27th. Tickets for all shows at parkscasino.com. Visit parkscasino.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Parks Casino, this is how you win. All right, let's welcome in a new friend of the show, David Murphy. It's been a while, my friend.
New friend, old friend.
New friend here at PHLY. Welcome to our studios. Good to have you in. I always love having like you, Matt Breen, Seal Skis of the world, the guys that cover all the sports, because we get to talk a little bit about everything. So I am fresh off of let's start with the Phillies because we haven't gotten to them yet today. I'm fresh off a trip to Wrigleyville and Wrigley. There's just no cooler experience in sports than like seeing that. I've been there before, but not for a Phillies game. Being there for a Phillies series was especially cool, and Wrigley's just the absolute
coolest.
It's
funny. Actually, Wrigley is one of the worst places to cover a game. And it's one of the worst visiting team clubhouses in all of Major League Baseball.
That's funny.
Famous.
Yes.
It was actually where Roy Halladay
he overheated
that one day. And we're all in. I'm telling you, the visitors clubhouse is not much bigger than this room. It's probably 15 by 15, 20 by 20, and you're all like packed in there. And Roy Halladay's overheating. He's in like a broom closet somewhere, probably
trying to cool down.
Compounding matters. So, yeah, but it's a great park outside of that.
It really is. And Dave, the Phillies have kind of done perfect during this little downstretch here of injuries. We'll get into the trade rumors in a second, but like I kind of said, as soon as Schwarber and Harper went down, just play 500 ball through this, and that's aces.
Yeah, I mean, to go 5 and 4 without them right now. Yeah. I mean, that's all you could ask for, and I think you're seeing the value of good pitching.
Absolutely.
We've talked about it every year for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Your lineup's going to go through ups and downs. You're going to get injuries. You're going to have the Cody Clemens and David Dawes of the world in there, and the best way to do it is keep that opposing team under 4 or 5 runs, and you're going to score enough runs at some point to at least eke it out.
Yeah. So Ranger Suarez, last 3 starts have not been the Ranger we got accustomed to the first 9 or 10 starts of the season. Pitchers go through this sometimes where they just get a little bit of a dead arm, especially when they're trending towards the most innings pitched they've ever done. I believe his career high was 155. So he's going to eclipse that. Do you chalk up Rangers' recent struggles to just that, kind of a dead arm, middle of the season type of thing? Or do you think there's something more to keep an eye on there?
Well, I mean, I think if you look back through Rangers' history, this is kind of the way his seasons go. Yeah, I mean, the good thing for him is he's healthy right now. And I think that's, as long as that remains the case, he's going to pull out of it. It's you saw it last year where he started out kind of gangbusters, and we were all talking about whether he would start game 2 or game 3, and especially as Nola was struggling. Mm-hmm. And I think he's just kind of going through that. Look, the weather's heating up. We were in a very kind of unprecedented run environment early in the season, and I think that's starting to lift a little bit. So the ball's starting to carry a little more, but. Look, man, it's tough to pitch, and I think except for Roy Halladay, and the Scherzers of the world and the Kershaws of the world, kind of those, just that next tier of pitchers. Every pitcher is going to go through, a 5 or 6 or 7 start stretch like this. I mean, George, I only know George Kirby because he's on my fantasy team, and his first, we forget how, especially with how consistent Wheeler has been. We forget kind of how the baseline for starters. And,
sure,
and it's not. You're not going to go out there. You're not going to go out there and go 7 innings and 2 runs every time out. And I think right now we're just, Rangers, just the odds are catching up to them. The Heat's catching up to them. I think. Look, was he a 1.75 ERA pitcher?
Few guys
was
are.
he really a Cy Young candidate? Probably not. But look, he's going to be as good of a number 3 as you could hope for in today's game.
Absolutely. And it is, a war of attrition, especially when it comes to pitchers. Now, look, Jim Bowden is a guy that's a former GM in this league, very well connected. He went on Sirius XM, I believe it was Saturday, maybe Friday. Don't hold me to that. But he said what he's hearing about Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies. And, Dave Dombrowski does have a knack throughout his career of going for that big splash play. We haven't really seen it here yet because I think part of that was, is this team good enough? Like there was always that uncertainty because like you mentioned Nola last year, if he was struggling, luckily he caught fire late August, early September and kind of changed that. But now for sure that this is a World Series contending team. Jim Bowden named 3 names that he's heard in talking to people around Major League Baseball. Those names, for me, it's easy. I'm curious where you fall on it. The names he mentioned are Luis Robert, Jazz Chisholm, and Cody Bellinger.
Okay.
The impression he got in talking to executives around the league is that the Phillies really want to fix the center field specific position. What are your thoughts on those 3 guys? I'm a big push all in for Robert guy. I'm aware of the injury history and all of that. Jazz Chisholm is better than what you have. Moves the needle slightly. And Cody Bellinger, just signed that 3-year, $80 million deal. He's fine. Again, better than what you have. What are your thoughts on those 3 names that are kind of floating out there?
Well, I mean, my thoughts are if those are your 3 names, I would much rather pour all my resources into the bullpen. And
interesting. All right.
Kind of, if you gave me the choice between Luis Robert and 2 kind of elite strikeout arms, I would take the latter every day of the week. And I'll say that for a couple of reasons. The one is the injury history.
Sure.
And kind of the price tag that is going to.
He's the most expensive of those 3.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a reason why. Look, the White Sox are at a point where they don't have to trade him. He's got several years left, I believe.
Yeah, 3 at least, I think, with an option.
And a very team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
I think he's only got like $50 million guaranteed on the contract, which is an absolute steal.
And he's 27, so he fits that kind of core.
And look, so you need to look at it. It would be, the calculus would be different if you were trying to, if your number one concern was the regular season.
Sure.
At that point, an everyday player kind of makes a ton of sense. But right now, I mean, you got to think about this. You got to think about the trade deadline within the context of a playoff series, right?
Absolutely.
And no matter who you get, you're not guaranteeing yourself a chance at anything because it's baseball. And you're going to have 60 plate appearances. And,
sure.
I mean, Brandon Marsh is just as liable to have a great 60 plate appearances as Luis Robert. It's just a matter, it's the variance is so big. And pitching is the one thing where you can count on that, and I think that more than anything is the way they should be looking at it. To give Thompson another option in that bullpen and kind of fortify yourself. I mean, God forbid, Alvarado or Hoffman or one of these guys gets hurt. Look, you can't have a ton of confidence in the guys beyond those 4. The Sotos, the Dominguez's. You would love to have, especially if it's like a true closer type arm that could let the rest of those guys slot in there. I mean, that's where my head's at. And if Robert was a different player than he is, then whatever. But he really kind of fits the mold that this team is already in. I mean, he's a
high
big
strikeout
power guy,
rate,
big strikeout guy, and
I think he's like 24% strikeout rate.
And that's my whole point with the postseason is like you want to,
If you don't have Kimbrel last year, to your point,
you don't necessarily want more of what you have. No,
Yeah.
it's great. But like when you just have a bunch of big boppers that crush fastballs and are kind of susceptible to swing and miss stuff, you get what you had last year in the Diamondbacks, where you win the run differential for the series by however many, but you still lose the series because it's feast or famine.
Yeah.
So I think that. Long story short, Robert would be a guy, of that three for sure because he's the best defensive center fielder.
Mm-hmm.
The other two, at least a couple weeks ago when I looked at the metrics, the metrics say Brandon Marsh is just as good of a defensive center fielder as Jazz Chisholm or Cody Bellinger.
Sure.
And I'm not sure either one of those two players moves the needle offensively enough to really warrant the price tag that would come attached with them.
Yeah. I mean, Jim Bowden did mention Aiden Miller's name, which I think is absolutely crazy. I think he should be an untouchable.
In terms of trade, I would never trade that guy.
Yeah, like Andrew Painter and Aiden Miller to me are just your two untouchable guys. The rest are negotiable.
I think especially if
Crawford's killing it this year.
Center field. I mean, the first thing they have to ask themselves, and I think everything that they've kind of signaled to us is they don't view Marsh as a long-term option in center field, which fine, that makes a ton of sense. So then if you're going for a guy like Luis Robert, who is going to be, a multiple-year answer,
sure.
I think Justin Crawford would obviously be the guy on the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Aiden Miller, I would not touch.
This kid seems special.
It would not stun me to see him in the majors, end of next year. I mean, at the rate he's going.
Yeah, I mean, you had a scout say he's the best prospect they've had since Mike Schmidt.
Yep,
and those types of things are not thrown around willy-nilly.
No, and I saw him in spring training, and ignore the fact that he's probably 20 by now. I think he was an old 19 at the start of the season, but I mean, the guy looks like the guy's a full-grown man right now.
Oh yeah,
and I mean, obviously,
he is 20 now.
I'm not predicting that he's going to actually be at anywhere in the infield at any point next season, but it wouldn't stun me. I mean, he's that good of a prospect. He's that mature of a player, and he's that physically developed. Which is, I mean, Mickey Moniak looked like
a kid.
He still looked like he was going to prom when the Phillies drafted him.
Yeah, when we interviewed Aiden and Justin Crawford, I was blown away by how mature and they seem like adults. This portion of the show is brought to you by Rite Aid. The Anthony Gargano Show, presented by Rite Aid. Find all your favorite goods at the store nearest you. So is there any doubt in your mind that Dave Dombrowski is going to put them on the table and go for it this year, though? In whatever aspect that is, do you think they're potentially one of the biggest buyers out there?
Look, yes, I think, I mean...
They know they're close.
I think Middleton is kind of the driving force. You got to... Look, John Middleton, I mean, he's not ancient, but he's not...
Sure.
I mean, he's getting up there, and Dombrowski likewise he's not going to be a GM forever, and this is the best position any one of them has been in quite some time. I mean, I think Dombrowski's Tigers teams were probably in this position at some point, but look, man, you got to go for it. You're in a rare situation where pretty much your entire core
in their primes,
not only primes but kind of late primes.
Yeah, 31, 32.
Like Bryce Harper, might play until he's 40, but he's at that point. Kyle Schwarber's at that point.
Sure.
I mean, Castellanos might be past that point. Real Muto might be past that point. I mean, you're in a situation where you look at it and you're like, look, this legitimately might be. I mean, Nolan Wheeler.
Sure.
They're at the stages of their career where who knows. I think they're at a point where they look at it and they're like, we legitimately will probably never be. As good as we are right now with the guys that we have. So, yeah, now's the time to go for it. Take Aiden Miller off the table and anybody else, let's get it done.
Yeah, 22 days until the MLB trade deadline. Not that I'm counting or anything. But before we shift gears over to the Sixers, Dave, 7 All-Stars.
Yeah.
Kind of mind-blowing to think about how great some of these Phillies teams have been in the past, and they've only gotten as high as 5. I don't know if that's a reflection on a poor National League around them, or if they're all. They all seem deserving, but 7 is wild.
Well, what's wild is that a month or two ago, you might have thought they'd have Stott in there too. Right? He's not. He's
down a little bit from his number Stott.
Yeah. But he's not on the. He's not.
No, he didn't make it. It's you have 3/4 of the starting infield,
but I mean, he was. I mean, a month at the end of May, he was he at the tail end of that 23-6 stretch, he was like 850 OPS, best defensive second baseman in the game, and you were thinking, man, they might have the entire infield.
Ketel Marte is pretty good though.
I'll tell you what, the weirdest thing is Alec Boehm being selected for the home run. Like what?
That is bizarre.
Do you get points for opposite field singles?
I saw a really funny tweet. It was like, man, those kids in left center that are better keep their heads on a swivel because a lot of line drives are going to be coming their way.
But no, it'll be interesting. Actually, hey, look, we can dream a little bit, but maybe that you always hear about the home run derby kind of wreaking havoc on home run hitters because they kind of go into hyperdrive there, and maybe it has the opposite effect on Alec Boehm, and he
improves his launch angle a little bit. Exactly. Starts sending some more.
That's
the
the only thing missing. It's been like 3 years now that I've been writing that Alec Boehm's going to hit 30 home runs one of these years. And
I didn't think it was going to come, but maybe you're right. Maybe this will unlock it. So make sure you're following Dave. He's a great columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer on Twitter and all that. Dave, the Sixers. I was down, dead, no soul left. I thought I was never going to come back. I looked at this offseason ahead and the job Daryl Morey had in front of him, and I went, there's just no way. Like, it's over. Joel Embiid's going to ask out in a year. This is the disaster. You got Tyrese and Joel, and it's all going to fizzle and burn. They get Paul George. They get a couple of proven NBA guys to kind of follow suit. They've brought me back to life. I didn't think it was possible. Are you kind of feeling the same thing a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was my stages of the Sixers offseason were, when Morey had that year-end press conference and he's talking about going after. Yeah, he didn't mention George by name, but obviously,
sure. It was the best case situation.
I think Kyle Neubeck kind of asked him about pursuing another 35, 34-year-old, whatever, and Morey, like, it sounded like he was channeling Brett Brown from 7 years ago. It was just like, we stars. And I'm like, man, we're like, not only are we talking about star hunting again, we're talking about the same stars that they were hunting 7 years ago when they,
It's like the same fish you keep catching. Yeah.
Like, are we really doing this again? Are we really going to fly out to California and have LeBron stand us, And so it just like, it feels, the thing you got to understand about the NBA is it's just a fundamentally unserious league.
Yes, very much
it's
so.
Just like, you can't approach it as like a serious sports fan. And I think that's what that's why Philadelphia kind of struggles to embrace it at times.
We're too serious.
We think too much about it.
Yeah.
And like, you can't think too much about it. Yes, in a normal world in the NFL and Major League Baseball, you would not want to go out and sign a 34-year-old and guarantee him $60 million through his 38-year-old season, but it's the NBA, and like,
money's not
first
real.
Of all, there's no object that you can always get out of. You can always get out of contracts unless it's Tobias Harris, And then the more you looked at it, it was like, well, they really don't have any other options, And that was the big thing. Talking to people with the Sixers, during the build up to free agency, it was like, look, man, our other option is to go back and run it back with the same team we had last year.
Yeah.
And like, you didn't want to believe it, but you look at it and like, that's the NBA. The talent stratification is so extreme on the high end of the spectrum that it's like, it was Paul George or bust, really. And that's the way the Sixers were looking at it. And I was skeptical that I didn't think. I've spent the last 10 years watching stars not want to play for the Sixers and them talk themselves into oblivion, believing that they can change their minds, and so I was skeptical about that. I was skeptical about the Clippers. It still doesn't make sense to me why
they didn't sign and trade them.
Didn't just give or sign and trade
or just give them the money.
Just give them the money.
Steve Ballmer, that's like couch money to him.
I mean, like, what's the point of bringing James Harden back on a 2-year, $70 million deal? Like, I mean, to me, I thought they were either all in or all out. And I still blows my mind they didn't give him the 4th year, but. Look, once he got that 4th year, or once he it was off the table. I think, Morey took a huge risk. I mean, I guess it wasn't a risk because they really didn't have any other options.
Yeah, I had somebody trying to sell me on Brandon Ingram, and I was like,
Brandon Ingram stinks.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, he gets pulled off the court in 4th quarter of playoff games. Like, I'm good on that.
Brandon Ingram was the last thing that you need.
Yeah,
he would have been a great regular season player.
Sure,
they would have.
But like the Phillies conversation, we're not talking to who cares about 50 wins anymore. You're not hanging banners for 60 win seasons. It's all, and the hardest part in all this is having a healthy Joel Embiid for the playoffs, and that's the most difficult.
And I think that now look, there's and I'm kind of sitting down and figure out what I'm going to write this week, and this is I'm definitely going to dive into kind of like the depth thing is a
sure,
it's a real thing, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can get a Derek Jones Jr. or Kelly Oubre on a minimum, or are we just talking about guys like Kyle Lowry kind of filling out the rotation? Like it's it's tough to get through an NBA regular season if you don't have 10 or 11 guys that you're confident in starting at some point. But the flip side of that is the depth at the top end of the rotation is much better, and you're at a point right now where if Embiid gets hurt, Paul George and Tyrese Maxey,
they can carry it for a little bit.
Pick any other three guys, you can win that way.
Yeah.
Whereas last year, Joel Embiid goes down, and I mean they're a borderline lottery team for as long as he's out,
Tobias Harris is getting max money and giving you a goose egg on the box score when Joel Embiid's out. So, things are much better there. All right, this is a question I've asked our own Zach Berman and Bo Wolf, and I'm curious as we shift gears to the Eagles here. Is Jalen Hurts' job this year difficult or easy?
I mean, a quarterback's job is never easy.
It's never easy, but he has every toy imaginable at his offensive disposal with look, we haven't done the post-Kelsey life yet, but I'm assuming, Stoutland U and all that and Cam Jurgens, and it's going to be a good offensive line again.
I think that they're going to make it easier on him. And I would hope that it's look.
Because that's a difficult job. I mean, quarterback in general is difficult, but being a quarterback of a star-studded offense with, AJ and Devontae and Dallas and Saquon, it's a luxury.
I will say,
but it can be difficult.
Everything is on Jalen Hurts this year. And I
absolutely.
think that I was a hardcore Jalen Hurts skeptic for even coming off that Bucs loss in the playoffs, and even throughout that next season when they're just running game on Ben DiNucci's and kind of the Sisters of the Poor.
God, Ben DiNucci.
But then that Super Bowl, I watched him play in that Super Bowl, and he threw the ball like a real NFL quarterback and a top 2 or 3 NFL quarterback. And coming into last season, it was a little jarring not to see that. But I think that what the Eagles have shown this offseason, what they're kind of telegraphing is that I think maybe they gave him a little too much rope last year. They kind of, we saw it with McNabb where like the best Eagles teams were when they were managing the game around him and kind of asking him to kind of keep in the box small. Like remember in Hitch where he's like, stay in the box. It all of a sudden you kind of push guys to a point where it's like they're not ready for it, or they can't handle it. And very few quarterbacks can handle just being that guy who's like, all right, it's all on you. So this year they bring in Saquon Barkley. They pay the weapons. I think what we might see
coordinators.
They bring in a coordinator who runs the ball, throws the ball to his running backs. I would hope what we're going to see, and I think what we're going to see is a team that looks a little bit more like the one that ran through the regular season 2 years ago, where remember there were questions. Sirianni was asked every week if they can really keep on running the ball as much as they could, and then the last couple of years it's been the opposite. And I think we might kind of get back to where you see Saquon carrying the ball 15 to 18 times a game, and Gainwell getting in there, and throw to Goddard more, and just kind of keep it in that like box rather than just throwing things over to Jalen and asking him to be a hero.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned earlier, you wrote for 3 straight years about Alec Boehm becoming a home run hitter. I feel like the Dallas Goedert conversation for 3 straight years has been, he's one of the premier tight ends in the National Football League. And it just, while he's very good, it hasn't really met expectations a little bit. So I'm curious to watch him this year.
I'll say this about Goddard. He was always a little, he does not have the dynamic talent of like he's good, but he's not a guy like Kelsey or Kittle at his peak, or some of these guys that are, or Waller at his peak. Like he doesn't like, he was never going to take over a game like that. But I was, I've always, that being said, I've always thought he was a little underrated, and I was surprised that he was as bad as he was last year, relatively speaking. I mean, there was always like, I don't know if he's like messing things up the line of scrimmage or what. I mean, there was just all that weird kind of nonsense on the sidelines, and it's going to be interesting. And then you have the injuries, so it's going to be interesting. I think he's a big piece this year.
So to put a bow on the Jalen Hurts discussion, because I too have, like, the last 6 games of last year, 7 games, whatever it was, kind of shook you to your core a little bit about what he was. Are you expecting a all-pro caliber season?
No, I'm not. I'm expecting him just to be kind of the guy he was, before everyone started saying that he was going to take the next step being all-pro.
Mm-hmm.
Like just that guy, a guy who's just consistent, who's kind of more of an option than he was last year. But again, look, it's the thing about football. It's very hard to diagnose things without knowing what what the progressions are. And Jalen, one thing he's never been great at is throwing in the middle of the field. And even a lot of Goddard's big plays have been kind of designed, kind of one read type thing. So, I don't know that Goddard is. I don't know the onus is on Goddard as much as it is on Hurts and
Sirianni
and Kellen Moore to kind of find Goddard and make.
So speaking of Sirianni, my old profession, sports radio, they love.
Well, what's this?
They I don't know, what the hell do we call ourselves?
Sports computing,
a sports media network.
All right, there you go.
We're not driving calls, so I don't have to go to the low hanging fruit.
You don't got Jimmy from Frankfurt.
Yeah, Butch from Manayunk isn't calling up to yell about Sirianni. But a lot was made. I still tune in from time to time, and of course, there's Twitter discourse, which is always a lot of diarrhea.
Right.
A lot got made out of Jalen Hurts' comments about Sirianni and the coaching staff, and it did seem like a very easy answer to give in terms of, no, I love Coach. I have faith in him, whatever. We're working through it together. I got to be better. He's got to be better. We all got to be better. That type of cliche answer. Did you read anything into his comments about Sirianni? Because that relationship is kind of an interesting one.
I mean, I didn't think you had to read anything into it. Like, I didn't understand. I was there that day.
Oh, were you? Okay.
And I did not understand the whole kind of like contrarian, it wasn't a big deal. Like, it was just weird.
It was weird.
It was like,
why did you answer it that way?
Abnormal way to answer a question in the most awkward way possible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it means. Like, I have no idea if and I don't know if it matters either. I mean, you don't. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger spent the first 10 years of his career feuding with his offensive coordinators. It's. I'm not sure that the head coach and quarterback relationship, whatever it is, I don't think it's. I don't know that it's going to be a deal breaker. But coming off a season that was just weird.
It was a weird answer to kick things off.
It was just like, what? Good, bad, take value judgments out of it. It was just abnormal. And then you're like, all right, well then why was it abnormal? Yeah. And then you're like, so it's, look, I wrote this at the time, and anyone who was there, like, you're just being contrarian for contrarian's sake if you try to argue that it wasn't anything. Like, what are you talking about?
You made it weird, Jalen.
And I think that I wrote this at the time, but dude, Jalen's like, look, man, he ain't Michael Jordan yet. Like, he kind of carries himself that way. Like, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman kind of thing. And it's like, bro, like you still got, you got
a lot to prove.
You had one good season, one great Super Bowl. But like, I think that he's like, he's got to be careful not to get too high on his own supply, and I think that's the confounding thing about that whole answer, which I agree, probably too much was made out of it, but like, it was such an easy, it almost felt like he was going out of his way to, and it's look, last year ended the way it ended. You can't get around that. And even if like it's been blown out of proportion outside the locker room, it's still, that stuff has a way of, getting in. And, you've got a coach who's a clear lame duck, who, needs the respect of his team. He needs whoever your coach. You may not like him, but you got to win with him this year.
Sure.
And the best way to the only way to win is to have your coach respected in the locker room and players listen to him. And, you know, like, you think they're not sitting around like,
that was a weird,
what's
answer.
up with Jalen coach? What was that all about?
Yeah.
You know, like, it's an unnecessary variable to introduce into, you know, the equation. And I think he would be wise to kind of like think about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny, like when people talk about sports and athletes, and because like they're famous, we think they live this different life, but there's a very human reaction and element to all of this. And the human element is, did you hear the way they just talked about Boss over there? That was weird, man.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that, like by him answering it,
and the
weirdly,
thing is, like
weird.
It would be one thing if, like, you know, if this was like Gronk or some
or
even
goofball.
AJ Brown, right? Like, but like Jalen Hurts is like renowned for, you know, thinking everything over and being very calculated with the way he speaks. And not only that, it's the NFL. You know, I mean, like, if, like, put it this way, and this, I used this analogy at the time. If somebody had asked Jalen Hurts, you know, if it was week 1 and or week 2, and somebody asked him about the Falcons, like, hey, like, what do you think of the Falcons? He would have found something nice to say about that. It's like, Falcon, oh man, like, great team, great competitors. They look great on paper. Love their coach. I mean, you can tell they're very well coached. Like, blah, blah, like, you know,
Kirk Cousins is a pro.
Like, Kirk Cousins, just total pro. Like, they're a dangerous team, you know, whatever. And then someone asks you about your own coach, and
you're like, I don't know, man.
You could easily give that answer, and you could easily lie like you always do, because the Falcons are not good and they're not well coached and they're not, you know. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like NFL is all about eliminating distractions, not giving boneheads like us anything to talk about, and
that's part of why
he knows it more than anybody.
Yeah, that's why he is a cliche machine. He doesn't want to give us anything, and then he goes out there and did that. It was very strange. Well, make sure you're following David on Twitter by David Murphy. He is a sports columnist for the Philadelphia Inquirer, does a great job, always makes you think in his articles, which to me is the sign of a great journalist. Really appreciate you popping in today and spending some time with you.
Great studios.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Feel free to play some NBA Jam or NFL Blitz.
Go play ping pong.
Yeah, we got ping pong, we got disc golf, we got it all here at PHLY. So appreciate the time and coming in today, Dave. We'll catch up soon. Now, let me tell you about our friends over at Primo Hoagies, because I love me some Primos. You know, going down to a tailgate last week to a concert, me and my wife said, what are we going to eat? And I said, let's just swing by Primo's. It's right there. Their locations are everywhere. And for over 30 years, Primo Hoagies has offered a culinary experience that celebrates tradition, quality, and the unmistakable Philadelphia flavor. Give me a bada bing or a turkey Diablo any day of the week, and I will be a happy man. In 1992, their first store opened in the heart of South Philly. Anthony always talks about it. You know, Grandmom used to take him and get those fresh seeded rolls. Man, I'm hungry because I haven't eaten a thing today. I could go for a Primo right now. They had something truly special in their hands. The quality of ingredients is a go-to staple of every hoagie. And I'm a big lunch meat man. And the Thuman quality meats, they're cooking with those hoagies. Primo Hoagies is committed to crafting sandwiches that set the standard of excellence. Become a Primo Rewards member and get $2 off every Primo-sized hoagie every Wednesday. Whether you call it a hoagie, sub, or grinder, one thing's for sure, you can taste the Primo difference. Make your next Primo event a smash hit with a Primo hoagie tray and party platter, perfect for any occasion. Order online or in-store today and taste the Primo difference.
All righty, Jamie, I love it. Well, guys, we were talking a little bit earlier about my peeling, because I was tanning a little bit out on the Jersey Shore. And so, guys, if you guys can notice, there's some tan lines around the eyes. It's because I was rocking my Shady Rays all weekend long, protecting me from those strong suns that we have here in the Jersey Shore. It was fantastic. Actually, on Friday, we had my my fiance's godmother and godfather in the house, and I just found out that whole family, they're Shady Rays family themselves. All the gentlemen, they had their Shady Rays on. We were, talking about the Shady Rays. It's always good when you can have a common ground like Shady Rays, guys. And let's talk a little bit why I love Shady Rays. I'm a sunglass nut, like everyone knows around here. And listen, with Shady Rays, unlike the other companies, is you get a great pair of sunglasses, but you're not breaking the bank. And that's the best part about it. We're all trying to save a buck or two and stay styling and profiling, and Shady Rays is going to help us out for that. But don't take it from me. Take it over from the 300,000 people that have rated Shady Rays 5 stars or more. It's a fantastic product, and everyone will agree as well that it's a fantastic product too. And guys, you ever been there, right? You happen to have your sunglasses, great day out in the sun at the beach. You happen to lose them, you sit on them, you break them. It sucks. There goes, $300 down the drain. That always sucks. But with Shady Rays, what they'll do, if that happens to you, they'll replace them for you. That's the best part about it, guys. No one is doing that. Absolutely nobody. And of course, as always, we have you hooked up with that promo code today. If you guys go on to shadyrays.com, find those pair of sunglasses that fit you best, and then go to the checkout page, use a promo code PHLY. This will get you 35% off their polarized sunglasses here today. Guys, 35% off? That's a good deal. So head on over today, get style and profiling as well. We still have plenty of summer left. So make sure you guys are protecting those eyeballs with some Shady Rays. Thank you, Shady Rays.
Absolutely. And big thanks to David Murphy for coming in and hanging out with us today. It was great to talk to Devon. Very excited to see the Sixers guys' coverage of Joel Embiid and the Olympic team, plus the Sixers Summer League. And this portion of the show is going to be brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. The Anthony Gargano Show is presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Go to TrueMark.com/PHLY or stop into one of their local branches to learn more about the credit union today, the difference of credit union today at TrueMark Financial. All right, it is time for the Clubhouse here as we're wrapping up. There's Andrew Frazier in the bottom right corner.
Guys,
We got Versace in with us today and JP.
Well, we need to first ask, Versace, how's the belly doing? We weren't doing well on Wednesday. Way better.
Way
Hot
better.
dog man.
Yeah. I did have, speaking of hot dogs, I know Versace here threw down a lot of dogs the other day.
Chicago dog?
I went for the Chicago dog. And I went to the place called Wiener Circle.
Great name.
Sorry.
Love that.
Yeah.
We're all children here. Sorry.
So Jason Kelsey was out there a little while ago.
Oh,
and
yeah, I remember that.
It's the place where they verbally berate you.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she was calling me effing this and effing that and like really some vile stuff, but pretty funny.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. So my cousin who just moved there in October had been dying for somebody out of town to come with him. And he called my wife ahead of time and his brother, and everybody was in on the joke. Apparently at Wiener Circle, if you go and order a chocolate milkshake, it's $20. So
are you kidding me?
All right, hold on. So we're in line, and I place all of our orders, and it's a very high-pressure situation because they're literally cursing at you and screaming at you and ripping you apart. So I'm like, I felt like I was in the Soup Nazi episode. I was like, all right, I got to have, 4 char-grilled cheddar, 2 char-grilled regular, all Chicago style, blah, blah, and I'm like hyper-tunnel focus. And my cousin at the end of the order goes, hey, your sister, he goes, Carolyn wants a chocolate milkshake. Can you get it for her? And I say to the woman, I was like, and a chocolate milkshake as well. And she goes, $20. And I was like, for the whole order or the milkshake? She was like, the milkshake, MFer. And I was like, and my cousin just gives me the $20. And I just like thoughtlessly gave it to her. And I turned around and I was like, $20 for a chocolate milkshake? I was like, everything on this menu is like $4 or $5. Like
insane.
And he was like, I know. I've been told that like I haven't gotten it, but everybody says it's the best. It's the best. And
was it like the Foundry at the Wells Fargo Center?
The
comp
I had
and
no
everything?
idea. So I'm sitting there, and our order is taking a while. She finally gives us the order, and we nail it. Really good, by the way. The Chicago dog, fine item. And the milkshake still isn't up. And I was like, do you have that chocolate milkshake? And she was like, MFer, eat your meal, and then I'll bring you the milkshake. And I was like,
my gosh.
And I was like, okay. So we're
I'll
on.
eat it. Don't hurt me.
Yeah. So we're about to leave because it's the point now. So apparently Letitia wasn't there. The chocolate milkshake at the Wiener Circle is a big lady from behind the counter comes out and motorboats you in between her jugs. And my cousin and wife and his brother were so excited to see this happen. I had no idea. And I was just like, and then the girl, she was like, here's your $20 back. We're not going to rob you. I can't find Letitia. And I was like, what? And we walked out of the store and I was like, what just happened? Dude, and he's like, oh, a chocolate milkshake at the Wiener Circle as you get motorboated by Letitia.
Oh, that's great.
But Letitia wasn't there, so I
wish
didn't
it
get
happened, dude.
It almost ruined my
bummed.
cousin's trip.
Yeah.
Because he was set to film and
Yeah,
everything.
man.
And I was expecting to get handed a chocolate milkshake. And instead, I would have been in between Letitia's boobs.
See, if I was your cousin, I'd be bad in that situation because I would be cracking up the whole time.
Yeah.
I was
Knowing
shocked
that's going to happen, I would just die. dude.
Yeah, I was shocked they all held it together there. And, my dumb ass is like, where's my chocolate milkshake? Not realizing the chocolate milkshake was Letitia's boobs. So Chicago.
Dude, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, but that was a good trip to the Wiener Circle.
milkshakes.
Anyway, back to Versace. Interesting to get it in before the 4th of July. I got all the wieners in on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And the Chicago
Good for
dog.
you, man.
Have you guys had a true Chicago dog?
No,
Never.
dude. I
All
want
right.
to go to Chicago.
Chicago's amazing. I think it's become my favorite city.
Wow, okay.
For a while, it was New Orleans, Seattle, Chicago as my top 3, and depending on the
Okay.
mood, San Diego's up there. I've been to a lot of cities thanks to working for Sunday Night Football over the years, and Chicago's I think number 1 now. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of perfect. Everything is Wrigleyville's amazing, and even the popular Wrigleyville bars are so big that things don't get overcrowded.
Oh, that's good.
And we went to the lake on the 4th and sat at this sweet restaurant, and everything is it's just not crowded there. Philly places that are good and popular get so crowded and so
very
packed.
true. It's very true.
Chicago's so spread out. It's just a great city. It's a char grilled dog,
Ooh, okay.
which is
Sounds
great.
good.
You can do it
Yeah.
with cheese or without cheese. And then toppings are up to you, but I said give me the full Chicago dog,
yeah. It
which
works.
is it's like a neon green relish that does not
Okay.
look like our relish that you're used to.
Yeah,
it's more
neon
like
green,
mint
yeah.
jelly, kind of like green
Oh,
relish.
Okay.
I didn't ask questions. I just rammed.
Just
A full pickle, some hot peppers, and tomato slices on a poppy seed hot dog roll.
I've seen
that
this.
sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was
would
pretty
eat that.
damn good.
Yeah.
And then we did, and I've had it before, but we did the Lou Malinotti's. The last night we were there, we got a deep dish in a tavern style and did the
there you
Chicago
go.
pizza thing.
So is the kraut a New York thing on the hot dog?
Kraut must be New York.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't.
I thought it was Chicago.
They get done with the down with the pepperoncinis, the pickle, and the tomato. And it was
I like
delightful.
that.
Everyone I ever talked to about Chicago is always it's a big culinary hub.
Yeah.
It is.
There's
yeah.
great food. I just look at pictures of it in winter and I'm like, I am never
Yeah.
going.
Don't go there in
That
winter.
looks horrible.
Don't
Nah.
go there in winter. I didn't get the Italian beef, which is still something I haven't
I
done.
really wanna do that.
Oh,
I
yeah, the
really wanted to
bear.
get the Italian beef.
Yeah.
Portillo's late night. I looked for it one night, but my drunk ass was wandering around in the wrong direction. So I just called it quits.
Jamie's on the south side.
It was funny. In the Wiener Circle, there was a guy from the South Side there, and he was like, "Man, this place is wild." He was like, I've always heard about it. I've never came. He was like, if they opened one of these in the South Side, it'd be a problem, though, because everybody loves shooting each other. And I was like, no comment. Yep. Happy to be here at the Wiener Circle. So it was a great trip, and Wrigleyville was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely on the
Except for the
bucket
umps,
list.
right?
Oh, what's that?
Except for the ushers, right? We were.
Yeah,
your
that
tweet.
is
BG
one of.
was busting your stones a little bit.
Either-
Well, it's annoying. I look, Citizens Bank Park does a ton right, and in the
Yeah,
lower
man.
levels, not the upper levels, because that's crazy. The usher will usually hold people until there's a break in play, and then
Sure.
everybody storms at once.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I missed that until we were at Wrigley, and it was just chaos, dude. People coming and going constantly. And one of the things with those old ballparks is, to Tyler Zuli's point of not liking old ballparks as much, the pillars.
Yes,
Are-
I saw your picture.
This is why you got to use the Game Time app because you can get images of your seat views. But the pillar is one obstruction. So at one point I had to switch seats with my cousin's wife because I couldn't see home plate. And she's like, oh, I don't care. I'm just here
Yeah.
for fun. And I was like, all right, well, give me your seat. So we switched seats. And then another point, I couldn't see the pitcher because of the pillar. So you're already dealing with some obstruction as is in these old stadiums. And then to have these, Chicagoans just coming and going as they please, it was a lot. There was a lot of obstruction in the views.
A lot
there.
going on.
Yeah,
one thing-
so I miss the ushers at Citizens Bank Park. You guys do a great job.
The one thing I saw in one of the pictures that you sent It was the upper deck, because how you sit, it's like right above you. So kind of like if you see like a home run or something, you can't see it go out the park because you're obstructed.
It's amazing because I think capacity there, I want to say, is around 42, 41. It's amazing they get that many people in because it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a small feeling ballpark. And we were right by the Trey Turner home run on the first night, and it went on to, what is that? Is it Waverly's Fenway, right? Or is that Waverly Ave there? Whatever it is. It went right, and somebody threw it back up into the bleachers. And the other thing is the bleachers have their own entrance. So the bleachers don't connect to the rest of the stadium. Right. So you have to go back, by Murphy's Bleachers Bar, and there's a whole Budweiser bleachers entrance.
That's cool.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
And the bleacher tickets are actually sometimes more expensive than the stadium seats. My one cousin did sit out there. Yeah, because it's like...
It is an experience.
It's an experience.
Although
it's a party.
not comfortable.
They do the beer cup snake where everybody's stacking cups and then they have it run. So
that's cool.
It's a different experience. I ended up going Tuesday and Wednesday. We originally only had tickets to the Wednesday game, and we were sitting at a bar in Wrigleyville Tuesday night at like 6 o'clock. And we were all kind of like, and we used the game time app. We were like, this is kind of dumb to be sitting here when Wrigley's 2 blocks away and we can just go watch the Phillies. So we ended up going 2 of the 3 games, saw the only 2 winners. It was a great trip.
I had a little FOMO on Wednesday because I obviously saw your picks, and then I saw a bunch of Union reporters and
so I ran into Dave Leno, my buddy Ray Dunn. A couple of Ray's buddies worked for the Union as well. I met them at the Cubby Bear, I believe was the name of the bar, which was definitely a place where if you're a lady, don't put your drink down unattended.
Ooh,
Yeah, dirty, grimy, like frat floors, people grinding a lot, that type of vibe. But I ran into a bunch of the Union guys.
Ray was working the Union game?
He was there going to the Phillies game, and I think he got tickets to the Union game.
Okay,
he was not working, but I did run into Dave and a couple
Ray.
other Union employees. So that was a good time.
Yeah.
Chicago's awesome. If you ever get the chance, definitely do it.
Yeah, I definitely will.
So the way I'm working it with my fiance is I'm trying to set up these U.S. trips around sports.
We got to get your ass to Charlotte on, Wednesday or Thursday?
You got to go, man.
Yeah.
Just a work.
Columbia, who?
The
Uruguay?
Uruguay, yes.
That's gonna be a great
Match of the
game.
matches, man.
We got to get your ass down to Charlotte, man.
Road
trip.
It's so funny because like all my Colombian American friends are like texting me or messaging me. It's like, they're so excited. Like, how do I feel? You're going to the game on Wednesday, and I'm like, guys, like I'm so excited, but I have to work. Temper.
Yeah. Well, you work in sports. So
I
we just
know,
got to
it's
swing
crazy.
it that way. And then we got to convince your fiance that it's all work. It's very easy.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife loves when I say, babe, I got to watch the game. It's work.
Oh, yeah.
I can, like, she knows that part of it is true, but like the rage in her eyes, I can just see like start to, she's like, oh yeah.
Your wife likes baseball.
She does. She's a big Phillies girl.
Jules
It's
and
the 4th night of you watching the Phillies.
No, like that.
I
Never
didn't
get
watch
anything.
Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Dude, my daughter is such a sicko in the head. She asks to see the lineup every day at like 4:30.
Dude.
She's like, give me the lineup. I'm like, this
That's
is
awesome.
Like my heart melts. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
I know.
And she'll
That's
be
great.
like, why is, and she knows all the names too. And she'll
that's
ask
awesome.
like about, well, he was batting first yesterday. Why is he here? And she'll be like, who's David Dahl? When somebody's new, she's like, yesterday she goes, who's Tyler Phillips? She goes, show me a picture of him. And I was like, okay. I was like, he's a local kid from Bishop Eustis. So like she's sick in the head. So Phillies are like
She's already doing the Topper. What are you doing with the lineup?
She started booing the other night when somebody let up a home run. I think it was Rangers.
Raising them right, James.
She started booing from the bed, and I was like, Rangers earned enough that like we don't have to boo him. Like it's just a bad start. It's okay. You got to learn when to boo.
You're raising some Philly kids. I love it, brother. I love it, man.
So we have a couple things to get to in the clubhouse here today. Which, of course, one of them, JP, is the Back in the Day segment brought to you by Rite Aid, because Back in the Day is presented by Rite Aid. Find all your favorite goods and store nearest you, because Rite Aids are everywhere, and they got everything, including some aloe for that skin of yours.
Yeah, man. Definitely going to need it right after the show. But today's Back in the Day, so I was scrolling through the Twitter world, and this picture, you ever see those pictures, Jamie, and you hear it? Like, you hear it, you see it. And so I stumbled upon this. We've all been there. If you had a PC in your household, you're doing homework, right? You're doing homework, but you stumble upon this game, and then you just wasted 30 minutes of your life. And that's the 3D Pinball Space Cadet game, man.
Dude,
I wasted so much time on this, and I just hear the ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I see. I didn't really do this on the computer. I was more
The actual pinball game.
Well, I do love a pinball machine. I think we should get one of those.
I know we should.
Well, that'd be awesome,
The
dude.
game that took way too much of my online focus was Snood.
Okay. Is
Do you guys remember Snood?
that the one with the boxes?
No, it was more like an alien like gun that you shot at like other aliens.
Oh, yes,
And you had to get the color aliens to like once they all connected, then they dropped.
I vaguely remember that.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, I'm a little older than you guys. So
PC games
Snood,
were awesome, though.
Snood was
I
the
was
shit.
I was a Duke Nukem.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I got
Duke
down.
Nukem was in like Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Also. Yeah.
In 5th grade, since I had a laptop, my dad got me. Well, I bought actually raised some money, saved some money. I bought Madden on the PC.
Wow.
I went to
Oh, there you go.
Columbia. I bought a little controller. And I had like all my cousins playing too.
So that was the thing with me with PC gaming. Like I could never do it on a keyboard.
No.
If you
Yeah, I had
gave
to
me
get
a
the-
keyboard, like
Yeah.
See,
or
that's
a
my
controller,
way. That's my way of gaming.
Is on keyboard?
I'm a PC gamer.
How do you
yeah,
how do
he's,
you function without the
Dude,
controller?
So I play a lot of like first-person shooters, and
Yeah.
it's so much easier because the mouse just gives you way more control of like how to
Okay.
shoot and stuff like that.
So when I go on Call of Duty and just get destroyed by people, are they destroying me with a PC?
probably.
yeah,
dude.
keyboard and mouse. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're not playing sports games like that. Like if I play Madden or FIFA or like
Sure.
MLB or anything,
to-
I connect a controller to play because you have to. But
Yeah.
My buddy was doing the Fortnites on that.
Fortnite,
during
yeah,
COVID.
same thing. Keyboard, mouse.
Yeah.
Call of
Okay.
Duty,
Well, maybe
keyboard,
that
mouse.
explains why I sucked at Call of Duty. Maybe
You're
not.
out there
maybe
just
I'm
a mouse.
just maybe I'm just
Could be.
bad. Yeah.
Boomer, what do you got? A controller over there?
Yeah, what are you playing on an
What's a mouse?
Xbox? Nerd. Some 12-year-old roast me online. Yeah, that's a good back in the day. Maybe I'll now get into the pinball.
I'm just like
Time
stuck
suck.
on like the nostalgia TikTok, nostalgia Twitter. They just hit me, man, because they know I love it.
What's your nostalgia? Early 90s?
Like late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah.
I guess early 90s is my nostalgia.
I guess some of the early 90s stuff creeped into the late 90s.
Yeah.
Early 90s. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Not too familiar with the commercials, maybe, but everything else, I got you, James. I got you.
Well, that is back in the day. Brought to you by Rite Aid. Before we get into the nugs and close out today's show, I did just want to share like the Joel Embiid Olympics thing has me way more into it than I thought it would.
Okay.
We've been watching the Olympic trials a lot, my wife and I. We're big Olympics people. And there's Joel Embiid holding up his Team USA jerseys and seeing him kind of embrace this and saying he's playing for USA because of his son. It doesn't get any cooler than that.
He is getting some slack, James.
And I'm kind of shocked at the, I guess it's xenophobic, right? Pushback he's getting for playing for Team USA instead of France or Cameroon. He said he did it for his son. End of story. You know, like his son is raised as an American boy, and he's doing it for him. So I think everybody that has something to say about Joel not playing for whoever they think he should play for, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No,
kindly.
Doesn't
I
bother me.
completely agree with you. Like, he is a citizen here. He's got his citizenship, and he's made his life here.
Yeah, he's been here longer than he has, almost as long as Africa at this point.
Yeah, and he's proud to be an American. And I think if he's a proud American, he should be able to play on the team. And anyone who's saying otherwise should exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Just like, shut up.
Yeah, just shut up about
Like,
it.
who cares?
And the one account was hyping up Jose Alvarado, who was born in Brooklyn. And they were like, well, look, he chose to play for Puerto Rico, and it means so much more to him. Jose Alvarado does not have choice of who he can play for. He is not good enough to make Team USA. If he was, he might have played for Team USA. Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the world. Ergo has choice of where he can play and who he plays for.
Yeah, my point with Joel is that, listen, he's always shown that he's extremely loyal. He has a lot of pride. And so for him, this means a lot to him. And obviously, like, you know, probably people who are giving him slack for playing for Team USA are people who don't have kids. But like, you mean, Jamie, you can attest to this. I mean, your kids are your whole world. And so something like that means a lot to Joel Embiid. And for me, more so like on a nerdy aspect, like I just love him playing with Team USA because, dude, this is like the ultimate like networking type of situation.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, pick the brain of these best players. And so as the Sixer fan in me, I love this because he's going to improve. This is going to be extremely beneficial for his game this upcoming season.
Yeah, and Devon saying that earlier makes a whole lot of sense. Like actually being a part of a winning team for once and visualizing it and seeing how LeBron and Steph operate.
The attention to detail, man.
Yeah, like all that little stuff is just going into the equation to get Joel to be a winner here in the NBA. So I'm getting pretty excited for the Olympics.
Same.
Winter Olympics don't do a ton for me, but the Summer Olympics, every time I get super into it. I watch all sorts of events that I would normally never care about.
A lot more historical moments, too, in the summer ones.
Yeah. So I'm really starting to get kind of excited for the Olympics here coming up, and Joel Embiid is a very cool part of all of that.
We'll be indulging. There'll be some Union players definitely over there too for the
Is
soccer
there?
team. Yeah.
Some of the young guys. I saw the team was announced today.
Harriel and Jack McGlynn, I think, are on the team.
Nice.
Quinn should have been on there, but topic for another day.
Yeah, I saw. By the way, on a Union note, I guess I'm sitting next to the right guy. Kevin Sullivan scored a goal, right, in his Union 2 game. So I guess that means he could be getting close.
We'll have to wait and see.
What do they have to lose?
At this point, I mean, we're running out.
Inject some adrenaline into that club.
We'll see. They're playing it very safely because they don't want to ruin a kid's career.
Apparently over the weekend they were also removing signs that were negative towards Jay Sugarman.
They'll be in my nugs.
Oh, all right. Well, let's just get right to them then.
You touched upon the other one here. So obviously Jose Alvarado, but I want to tie in Giannis Antetokounmpo. The reason why I love soccer so much and now it's creeping into basketball is that pride factor. There's nothing more special than representing your nation. And so we'll start.
I can't imagine how cool that is to put on your country's jersey.
Dude, I get emotional thinking about it. So we'll start off with Jose Alvarado. So for Puerto Rico, for context, they haven't qualified for the Olympics since 2004. Magical run, beat Team USA in that one. So this was the moment after Puerto Rico qualified. That's Carlos Arroyo, who led the way back in 2004 as their big piece back then. And now Arroyo is the GM, which I didn't know they had that now in the national teams. So this was right after Carlos was just so emotional. Jose obviously leading the way. But these are the type of moments that we love. And so we switched over to Greece, Team Greece, where obviously Giannis Antetokounmpo is leading the way. So Jamie, Greece hasn't qualified since 2008. And I remember growing up as a kid, Greece had some really good basketball teams. And so for Giannis, this was an extremely special moment. This was him after they qualified. So like you feel the passion, you feel how much this means to a lot of these players. I do think Giannis did throw a little dig at Joel Embiid on Instagram.
Did he?
You never cheat these type of moments pretty much since, because he's always been like that, right? He doesn't like to go to the Lakers. He doesn't want to play for Team USA. He grew up in Greece. He feels that connection towards Greece. He feels like a Greek. And so it's really special seeing these two significant players helping their countries qualify for the Olympics. Like you mentioned, it's a special moment.
Yeah, it's always international competition to me, whether it's a World Cup, an Olympics, a Copa or a Europa Cup, whatever it may be, where you're doing like the best of the best from countries competing against each other. It's just always the best. Yeah. Like it's the coolest.
Can I say one more thing about this too? Like, Embiid getting all this heat for this. Like, if you guys watch like international soccer, it happens all the time. There are guys on teams that shouldn't be on teams.
Sure.
Mbappe. Team USA has a guy who plays on the team who's from England. Like, it happens. The whole French team is not from France. Like, it happens. Like, allow it to go. It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, Reina had dual citizenship, didn't he?
Yeah,
Argentina and U.S., and he picked the U.S.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So,
but it is funny because, like, Patrick Ewing was born in Jamaica. Yeah.
Tim Duncan was born in the Bahamas?
Virgin Islands, I think.
Virgin Islands, yeah.
No one gave them crap for it.
Nobody cares. This is like the downside of social media, like where everybody has a voice and you're going to have a lot of nameless, faceless people just throwing chum into the waters and hoping to drag people into the terrible conversation. It's stupid. Joel Embiid is an American now. He chose to play for America. I can't wait to see Team USA play. What did Devon say? They're playing Canada on Wednesday?
I do believe so.
I believe that's what he said, yeah.
Is that going to be televised?
That's going to be a good one, by the way.
Canada's team's not bad on paper.
I would think it was.
Yeah, that should be pretty cool.
SGA running the ship for
They got SGA, they got Murray, and do they have
Oh yeah, Murray.
No, Booker's on USA, yeah. But they do have a decent squad. So really kind of looking forward to that. What else you got in the Nugs?
All right, so obviously everyone's talking about good by the way for you knowing Tyler Phillips from Bishop Eustis, right down the street from me.
The South Jersey people used to always go, Bishop Useless. It's Bishop Useless. And I'm like, well, they crank out a bunch of MLB players.
That is true. So he made history.
He did.
This stat here, it was stayed strong for 123 years. That's ridiculous, guys. But what he broke is he was the first pitcher to make their debut and have 7 strikeouts in his major league debut. And so our friend here, Alex Coffey, who had a great quote from after the game.
This is awesome.
Yes, this is a great mentality to have. And I think this is also, it definitely catered to us here in Philadelphia. He said, I hate every single hitter that I face, Phillips said. Doesn't matter what team they're on, doesn't matter who it is. I know the tension, the rivalry, what's going on here. That was a dream come true, to be able to go out there and face the Braves and to make that my debut with my family in town. I was very emotional. And for Tyler Phillips, great outing there. He finished the last 4 innings there with 7 Ks. He did allow the homer, but an impeccable debut there, Jamie.
I can't imagine what it's like to grow up a Phillies fan, to be at parades, to be a Birds and Flyers and Sixers fan, and then to put on a Phillies jersey. I mean, awesome, the family aspect, you always think about the family and like how cool that is for the dad and grandfather and all that stuff. And then to hear him like get it and just like express it like we would kind of feel like we would be in that spot, it just makes it so much cooler.
Now, a lot of eyes are on Tyler Phillips because obviously, listen, that 5th spot in the starting rotation is pretty much up for grabs. And
Taiwan, they're saying like maybe 2 weeks after the All-Star game at best. I think he just started throwing the splitter again recently to see how the blister holds up. But that spot is kind of up for grabs a little bit. Michael Mercado had his welcome back to earth moment yesterday.
That was tough, man.
He couldn't locate a strike. And then once he
a little too hot, Jamie, a little too hot.
Yeah, and his first game in Chicago was great.
Yeah.
I got to experience that one firsthand. And he just couldn't throw a strike. And then once you can't locate a strike, you start trying to get the ball over. And that's where you leave mistakes that just get absolutely smashed.
And it's okay that happened to him.
It's fine.
It's all right. It's a learning experience. And you just hope that his mentals, he's able to bounce back from that and come back strong.
Although I am going to critique Rob a little bit.
Okay.
Now, our conversation with David earlier, and, the Phillies, everything is viewed through the context of we're completely spoiled this year. Everything is great. The problems we have aren't real problems for most other teams. Like, they're all good problems to have. And Rob has been great, and I'm not trying to, rain on him. But as soon as Adam Duvall sent that ball to the moon yesterday, you had to get the bullpen active. Yeah. And he tried to give him 2 or 3 more batters, and it was clear it was over.
Yeah, man.
And look, it's one game in a regular season, but that was the difference of 3-0 to 5-0.
Definitely. I agree.
I thought he let the game get out of hand when it was pretty obvious that Mercado should have been at least had somebody warming up earlier than they did. So minor critique yesterday on Rob. That's it. Right. Anything else in the Nugs?
Yeah, we got some more stuff.
All right.
So there's nothing better than being young at the Jersey Shore. So this past week on 6 ABC,
except these TikTok punks down there causing all these emotions.
Well, speaking of which, 6 ABC got a little photo bomb here.
Oh, this was great.
So funny.
Now that's a good kid right there.
Ocean Titty, New Jersey. Jamie, welcome, man. Welcome.
Ocean Titty, New Jersey.
That was a great one.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
All right, so the next one I hope is a little inaccurate here. So we had a sportsbook put out a tweet. Over under how many showers you take per week. So they started at over under 2.5 showers.
I might do that in a day sometime.
Jay, that's a little concerning. People are only taking 2 showers, 3 showers a week.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I took one last night after the pool. So we took the girls to the pool. The chlorine-y feeling you got to get off of you. I don't really like that. So I took one when I got home. Then I made dinner. And then I woke up this morning, and my old trick from waking myself up at 3:45, 4 a.m. all those years was to take a shower in the morning. So now it's just how I wake up. So
nice cold shower.
So I took 2 showers in the last 12 hours.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the pre-bed shower.
Yeah.
You're all nice and clean. You get into the clean sheets. It's like, come on.
I'll
2.5 a week.
Yeah, I hope no one is answering under that.
Yeah, like what the hell? I didn't even know that was an
start at
option.
7, guys. Let's start at 7.
That's
there.
disgusting.
All right, so
That's
next,
nasty.
yeah, it is. So next up,
Like your grundle and butt, like
Yeah, man.
sweat. It's like 98 degrees outside.
I know, especially today.
especially in this weather too, especially if you live in
Disgusting.
hot areas.
By the way, this weather is absolutely awful.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
What
yeah.
the hell is our new climate? It sucks.
Yeah.
All right.
The heat is not fun, guys. Not fun. What is fun is Paul George is a Sixer, guys. And
Yes.
so in his last episode of Podcast P, hopefully he's not, sharpening up
Do
those
we have to
tools.
subscribe to this now?
I did, honestly.
Did you?
I did. I guess I have
I feel
to.
like it's not going to be any good, but I feel like I owe it to him now as a Sixer to join.
Yeah, but it was interesting to hear him in his number selection. So this is another athlete coming to Philadelphia, picking 8 or 24 or 2, I guess, just throwing that, because of the Bryant family. So obviously the last one notably was Darius Slay when he came here in 2020, picked 24 for Kobe. I thought it was a cool moment there. Cool moment.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Seeing him in a Sixers uniform, it's pretty
looks
nice.
cool. Looks
Yeah.
cool. I'm
Little horned
excited.
up, a little bit.
Yeah, a little lead in the pencil. Yeah. So is that that is a Kobe homage? Is that
Kobe homage, as we
okay.
said on the podcast, we wanted to do it for. He was, I think he said he was between 14, 8, and 25. I think.
Then I think 8 is right.
Yeah,
That
8
feels
was
right.
8 was the right number.
Now, GJ, and somebody put this in our PHLY Discord channel. And if you want to become a diehard here at PHLY, an invite to our Discord channel is definitely one of the perks. Plus all the great writings of Kyle Neubeck and Derek Bodner and Zach Berman, Bo Wolf, Les Bowen, Jim Salisbury, John Foley, Charlie O'Connor, Alex Appleyard, all their unlocked writings for you on top of it. But somebody threw this in the Discord this morning. Shout out to ABID71. And as you can see this, JP, it is a CJ Gardner Johnson tweet, quote tweeting Podcast P with Paul George's thing, and says, in regards to the jersey on the podcast reveal, I assume that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He said, you and your wife saw me do it first. Be real.
Wow.
Shaking my head. Y'all knew the idea came from me. LOL.
Oh, dude. That's
This
great.
dude is wild.
First of all,
CJ Gardner
is that
Johnson.
even true?
Does CJ Gardner Johnson have a podcast?
Number
No,
that.
he's on Twitch.
First off,
He's on
that.
Twitch.
Yeah,
So
he's
he
Twitcher.
streams games.
Okay.
Yeah, he streams games.
So did he wear his Eagles jersey?
I'm sure he probably did.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he was 23.
But does he think he invented that?
I don't know if he's did. I
Like
love
that's
that
not something you
mentality,
can
though.
really claim ownership of.
No, you shouldn't. But that's the kind of guy I want on the field because he's a little nuts.
Yeah,
and
he's definitely nuts.
He's gonna wreck people, and that's what I love about it.
But going after Paul George?
Yeah.
The man's been downtown in Philly for 24 hours. Going at his neck? CJ, with all due respect, we've been down bad in Sixers land. Let's
Yeah.
not create beef here between teams.
That we have. So PG's also getting some slack here because his first stop in Philadelphia.
I saw this. It's not his choice. He goes where they take him.
He's going to
Oh,
Geno's.
the Genos. Yeah.
Fine. I have no strong opinion on the cheesesteak wars of Philadelphia. They're all good. They're all delicious. Even the touristy spots.
Oh yeah.
They're all good.
Dude,
So-
but do we have to go to a cheesesteak spot? I mean, we have so many
It's
great
just the
restaurants.
thing
in the
to
city.
do,
I
It's
get
like
it.
Philly cheesesteak. You got
Yeah, it's why I went and got a Chicago dog.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
I get it.
cultural.
I get
you
you.
know?
I got you.
Yeah. So
I actually have-
who cares what Paul George? He's here. He chose a cheesesteak in general.
Yeah.
And the rest doesn't matter.
I actually have a quick nug
Oh yeah.
to go on to the Copa America Euros thing. We're getting into the semifinals, and I just want to shout out my team Liverpool because Liverpool actually has 7 players in the semifinals on their team. 7
that.
players on their team.
But
that are
not
gonna
good
be
enough
in-
to win the EPL, huh?
Oh.
Well, when you
Premier
when
League.
you root for a money team like Man City,
Hey,
you
when
know,
I chose Man City, I didn't know it was oil chic money evilness behind it. I just liked Mario Balotelli. All right.
yeah.
Well, that's
The
good.
Balos.
Anyway.
Anyway, pretty sweet. I'm excited for this upcoming season. So
Yeah. Maybe you guys can, actually win one with all that talent.
Uh,
Yeah.
Speak,
You
speaking
never
of
walk alone, right?
Yeah. Hey, we got the ball man at the helm now.
Speaking of which, for all our Philadelphia soccer fans, for people who don't know, Union have not been playing well this year.
No.
To the point where the fan base is ready for a new ownership group. And so we had 2 instances here, and this was all in the River's End. This is where the supporters group, the big fans of the Union sit. So there's been signs, James, signs to sell the team. We had 2 separate signs here. One of them was a simple, just sell the team. And so this was from Union Memes here on Twitter. And the other one, this one's pretty clever, actually. The sugar ain't sweet no more, Sugarman.
That's good.
And so unfortunately, they did have to take those down.
Team personnel came and confiscated them.
Yeah. I know we've had some bad owners in Philadelphia sports history.
Oh, yeah.
Have we ever seen this from the fan bases here in Philly?
Yeah. There's been some self-design.
Bremen wasn't a good one.
Yeah, Bremen was like charging guys for socks and stuff. Like he was pretty terrible. There's
paper
been
bag days for the Eagles and stuff, right?
Yeah. Bags on the head days.
We're calling for ownership, though.
We've got it really good right now.
We do.
I know the Union are going through their stuff, and you want to see some money spent on talent and not just rely on the academy for everything. I get their frustration. But for the 4 major ones, just the Union on the outside, I think things are really quite good right now in terms of ownership.
Yeah, it is pretty good so far.
And especially the front offices too. So for the most part, things are good here in Philadelphia. Sorry to all the Union supporters though that are going through its rough patch.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So the last snug came in right before the show. Playoff P. Or podcast P.
Podcast P, playoff P, whatever.
Hopefully playoff P.
Pandering P, whatever you want to call.
So, listen, James, we've all known the Clippers have been one of the worst ran organizations, even with Steve Ballmer. They've had some success, but it's still snake bit, it feels like. So Paul George actually broke down in negotiations with the Clippers. So the first offer.
Did he really?
The first offer.
This is where athlete and podcasts are cool.
Yes, for sure. The first offer, James, the Clippers were offering a 2-year, $60 million deal.
What?
And he was obviously like, no.
Yeah.
And then he asked for the same contract as Kawhi this was in the middle of the season. And because the thing is think about it. Over the past couple of years, Paul George has been relied to be the top option while Kawhi was getting hurt. Obviously not his fault. So it's fair to say hey, just pay me the same as Kawhi. And Kawhi apparently was willing to take a contract reduction to stay on with the team as well. So then after that, he asked for 3 years, $150 million with a no trade clause after the season. And then finally, he asked for 4 years, $220 million. And obviously, that the negotiations went off the side road. And now he's a Philadelphia 76ers. But if you're the Clippers, now you're running into this season with Kawhi Leonard and a bunch of role players. Why not just do what you can to keep Paul George, you're at least going to get 5 seasons from him. You don't know how much more you're going to get from Kawhi Leonard. So it's, again, just showing the Clippers fumbling the bag, James.
Yeah, weird, too, with their new stadium getting launched this year and Steve Ballmer having more money than he knows what to do with. You would think, maybe just do what's best for your team and bring back another star. I don't know. We'll see what they do, but the Clippers are the Clippers for a reason.
Right now, I'm watching the Clip Show on FX.
I want to get into it. How is it?
It's all right. I think it's just more telling on how the Clippers are ran. I'm getting into the Elgin Baylor stuff right now, which was so messed up. But yeah, Donald Sterling, one of the worst owners in all of sports, if not the worst owner in all of sports. But yeah, it is bad. And the Clippers, listen, after Sterling, they got Ballmer, and they had some successful years. But it just feels like they have that Clipper stank.
Yeah. So is that all the nugs for the day?
That's all the nugs we got.
All right. Great job filling in for VG, who will be back at some point this week, dealing with a little back issue, which is never fun.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Back issues suck. You don't realize how vital a back is until it starts to go on you or hurt or whatever. It's brutal. So wishing him the best. But that's going to do it for us here today. Rest of the lineup wise, let's see. We got Phillies. Are they happening now?
I just saw the Flyers walk in.
Yeah, Bill Matz is here. I see Rich Hoffman and Zach Berman in the house. Sixers are off today as they are traveling to Las Vegas for Joel Embiid Olympic viewing and Sixers Summer League. The Flyers coming up, I believe, at 1 o'clock every day this week. We have the Eagles at noon. The Phillies are on currently right now. My team. I'll be back with them tomorrow. And then, of course, we have the Union today as well at 2 o'clock. So big thanks to Devon Givens and David Murphy for joining the show today. Thank you, JP and Andrew, as always. Versace, you brought your A game today.
Versace.
For us here at the Anthony Gargano Show on PHLY, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.